It's not that inherently the map pool is terrible. It's just the way that Valve is handling the map pool is frustrating.
Right, we're back for another episode of Snake and Banter, and as is our new way, we're just diving straight in. So on this episode, we have a return guest. It is Davey, who, by the way, technically, I don't know if anyone's ever going to do any of this, but he is actually available to be hired as an analyst and all that good jazz. Loads of people are on these shows.
That was positive.
Yeah.
I was waiting. I was like, all right, where's he going with this? Where's he going? I had a big smile.
He also grows
coming out.
soybeans.
Like,
you need to tell people about that aspect.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, lots of people like vegetable oil, so soybeans are free. It's a free money print.
No, I'm so scared already because Sad just watches this part, then calls you like a soy boy directly on Twitter or something, man. Like, some angle like that.
I don't have any pink gear, but I do have a light blue mouse somewhere.
Okay.
That might do it. That might be enough for him.
So anyway, as is our new way, we like to go straight into one of the spicier topics. I will say, this one we don't have any, like, incinerating nuke. Oh my God, I can't believe he said that. We might more have one, but it's like an interesting one. So on this episode, we're going to start with the ugly point, and we're going to start with Davey. So Davey, what is ugly about CS right now?
I think what's ugly about CS right now is the map pool, and it's not that inherently the map pool is terrible. It's just the way that Valve is handling the map pool is frustrating, where you would like to see new maps coming in. Train comes in. Okay, Train's not great, sure. But the whole point of bringing it in theory, is what you would think, is you bring it in, you let pros play it over tournaments, you improve things, you adjust things, you fix it, you make it better. Take out an old map, bring in another new one, and repeat that process. The problem we see now in like pro CS at the highest levels is that everybody in every veto, you can guarantee there's in a semifinal, final, best of 3, there's going to be 2 of Inferno, Dust 2, or Mirage. And that's fine. That's been the case forever. But the reason why that keeps being the case is because at the end of the day, pro players are going to pick the maps in the vetoes where they feel most comfortable. And they have played those maps the most. So you'll have certain teams that are like specialists on Anubis, or teams that really love Nuke, whatever. And there'll always be the Nukes in there, the Overpasses, 1 out of the 3. But overall, those 3 maps are the most played still for the past 13 years now, because those are just the maps that everybody's played the most, and players will go straight to comfort. And because of that, we don't actually get to see things develop on the new maps, because Valve brings them in, leaves them in for a cycle or 2, and then takes them out because they're the least played. It's like, yeah, they're the least played because people go to their comfort. You have to force them to play that over and over again until they become comfortable in it. So that's why I would say the map pool right now, it's not that it's like the worst map pool ever. It's just that because of how Valve have approached it, it's made it become really stale.
In general, the entire map rotation philosophy about putting in and taking out maps based off of, I would even say it's more based off of casual play, it feels like. Yeah. I mean, it feels like it's just, Dust 2's in, Mirage is in, Inferno's still in, Ancient's still in. They're practically just leaning into whatever is the most Valorant coded map, which is, I mean, you just want the most basic map possible with the easiest angles, the easiest lineups, because Train, even though it didn't live up to the namesake or living up to being as tactical of a map as it was in CSGO or Source or 1.6, whatever, it still actually lended itself to having teams being able to anti-strat each other well enough. I mean, again, famous example of it happening was Furia losing to Navi in the quarterfinals of the major. That was just a completely targeted game plan, which in a way I would say proves that the map is a success. If you're able to come up with a very specific game plan which can work around opponents' weaknesses and then be able to defeat them because of it, even if on paper, Furia were the better team. Like Furia coming into that major were the better team. I would say that they had the better players, which, I mean, you could look at HLTV's top 20 ranking and who had more players in the top, but I would even just say off of individual form, Pacerod and Molodoy are just better than any rifler on Navi, and wonderful. Like that's just how I felt completely. So I felt like that map was a success, that tactics could win over brawn, or essentially. And for them to just kind of go with this method of, I mean, like, they haven't even touched Mirage, you know? They're not even touching Dust 2. They're keeping in all the super basic, essentially puggy maps. And if they keep going down this route and then they just take out another tactical map, which is, again, the lesser played map amongst casuals, then they're likely going to be touching or taking care of or taking out Overpass to bring in cash. Like, how simplistic does the map design need to be in order to fit or even contest with the steady maps that are in the pool, such as the ones I already mentioned, like Mirage and Dust? I mean, that is in many ways, I think that's just a really bad idea and just kind of a bad precedent to set. You don't want to you don't want to just keep making it the most simplistic maps that every layman can play, or else then you're isolating the esports audience, which let's just be fair, I feel like the esports side of Counter-Strike is really what's keeping this alive. They don't market the game. They're not actually, like, this isn't, the new player experience is terrible. Like, if anybody's getting into Counter-Strike in 2026, I almost just pray for you at this point. Like, you're getting no help whatsoever, and you're usually just running into cheaters, people that are going to harass you for ruining their games. You're going to get vote kicked half the time. So what's the benefit for these people other than, hey, the map pool's a little easy? Like, that's not really actually enough of a draw for me at this point to say, like, this is a worthwhile way of swapping maps in and out.
Yeah, my biggest problem with this topic is this is one of these areas where I wish, like, if there wasn't like a way I could talk to them, I wish they were like on record as to what the criteria is, as to what they want the map pool to be. What does a map pool represent? Because I'll give you an example. As Davey pointed out there, one thing that people tend to do for esports side of the map pool is they just look like, is a map played enough? It's why it was obvious that Vertigo was going to get removed, even though it took 6 fucking years or whatever. Because it used to be the least played map constantly. It was the most perma-banned map. It's why eventually I convinced people, like, doesn't it ruin the veto when essentially half the vetoes, like, which of the two teams playing chicken who both find Vertigo, either ban it first rotation or get float and gamble it? Like, that wasn't actually as sexy at the millionth time into Na'Vi versus G2 or whatever as you would have hoped it would be 2 years ago. So most people think of it as just remove the one that's not played. But what you have to ask is this, which is, why is it not played? And it's not always that it's a bad map. One, like Davey said, almost all times the least played / the most vetoed map is one of the newer maps, especially one that's not a classic map. Like, they reworked Twin enough, it wasn't like the old school train, so it doesn't have the vibe of why Dust 2 and Inferno will always be played whether they're good maps or not. But what I would say is this: if people know any of the history of other games, a famous example of a game that I think has the most in common with CS for how it's patched is actually really old school StarCraft. Because if people don't know, the first version of StarCraft before StarCraft 2, it was finished as a game basically in like the early 2000s, and they didn't patch it, the jokers, for like 13 years or something mad, which is the entire time Korea played StarCraft and was amazing at it. So what happened is, because they weren't patching the game, and the reason why I draw the comparison to CS is, we only get tiny tweaks. They tweak a weapon, one weapon at a time a little bit, or they put one utility thing in, and it's such a small tweak, it doesn't radically change the game. Whereas if people don't know, in games like League of Legends, if you ever play the role like jungler, that basically changes like every year or two, where they just change the paths, the items, and what the fucking champions can do. So what they did in StarCraft instead was, the way they would try and balance the game was, the people who did the tournaments themselves would actually have custom maps designed, and the map pool is how you balance the game. So essentially, if you think for a second about a game like StarCraft, where you have like 3 different races, the premise would go, famously, the Protoss race was the weakest one, right, overall in a normal setting. So what they did was, they figured out the type of map that a Protoss has the best chance on, and they would literally have seasons each year where they'd intentionally put more maps in to give them a chance, so it would like even the win rates out roughly. Now my point here is, that's actually why I sort of want the map pool to function as in Counter-Strike, because I don't want them to change and tweak all the weapons and all fucking... I think if you do that, it's a nightmare. So all I want from the map pool is just allow loads of styles of play. And the joke is, even though if you go back in time to the Vertigo days, I actually thought it was way too far the other way, and actually the game was a little bit like narrow in terms of how you could play it. The pendulum swung too far back now, and if you look, like Maui was listing there, if you live in a world where you simultaneously have Anubis, fucking Mirage, Dust 2, and Ancient, you've just done too many like basic fragger maps there, mate. The actual T-side's not going to be as interesting as you think it's going to be in that regard. You're going to limit the game somewhat, and that's actually why you're going to hear things from people. But the people think about CS2, but it's more like the map, which is like, it's just about fragging now. You're just going to have all-star players. Like, that's the maps are what decide this. Like, have you ever noticed though, when people say that, you put people, that's why I still want the overpasses of the world in the map pool. Like, that'll never be like that, mate. That will never be a map where everyone does a 40-second rush. It just won't be. So, do you know what I mean, Dave? You want to jump in?
Yeah, 100%. And like, I totally agree. I want to go back a little bit to what you were saying about players, and like when I originally brought up the comfort thing, and players will always having the least played map removed. It's like, well, and if you talk to players, they'll say, I just don't like Vertigo. I just don't like how it plays. And what that really translates to is, I've probably played 40 scrims on it, maybe another 50 or 60 pugs, and I play the same 2 positions each time, and I've never really felt comfortable in them, so I don't like that map. And when you look at a map like Dust 2, every single person in the pro scene right now has played B, mid, short, long. They've played every single position across both sides. They've done all of it. They know exactly how each thing plays because they've been playing it for 20 years. So that's why they say that they'll pick Dust 2 over a Vertigo, and they'll just make the blanket statement of I don't like Vertigo. And it's not that they're lying. It's just they just haven't had the reps on it. And so because of that, you have to keep it in long enough that players find the positions they like. Because certain teams are just always just not going to like maps. If you have two guys on your team and both of them hate playing CT overpass, overpass is never going to be in your top 3 maps because that's enough to have such a negative impact that it just won't happen. And as far as the map balancing thing goes, I totally agree with you. You go back to 1.6, the game was always a little bit CT sided just because of how the angles worked. So they would make maps that were more T sided, and then on the maps that were CT sided, like you'd go 12-3 on CT train and be like, okay, this game's not over yet, boys. Like, lock in, like it's not done yet, right? So, and I preferred that. And right now, I totally agree, Alex. Every map except for Overpass, I would say, kind of plays very similarly. Like there isn't really a whole lot you can do, and the changes that they make to maps these days, because especially online, which is where a lot of their data is coming from, the game is so T-sided, they make adjustments to the map that are always favoring the CTs. They're constantly favoring the CTs, but the game is built to favor Ts, and so everything is like 6-6 now, right? Like that's their ideal world, is everything is a 6-6 half, and that's just not how Counter-Strike's supposed to be, in my opinion.
By the way, along those lines as well, 2 other things. One, the giveaway that actually people do just decide, I'm just never playing that map, it's a way to like short, streamline practice, is it would make sense if one core, like famously was like, look, we always ban vertical, that's fine, maybe your style doesn't work, but you know some of those stats you've seen. So recently, Vitality let through Ancient. Apex has played Ancient twice ever online in his entire career. Bro, the map's been up for years! No single version ever of any Vitality squad ever could have been good on Ancient. There's no way, mate. It's not even Vertigo. It's not even like it's the ultimate most hated map. Similarly, you remember people like Alexi and fucking Nico. At one point in time, they never used to play Vertigo either. They played like fuck all. Like I think Alexi's played like 20-something times his whole career.
Nico also wouldn't use the Krieg during Krieg meta, so there you go.
No, it is the same thing. By the way, that's why in this scenario, 2 other things I would suggest as possible solutions is, one, Moses had a point years ago that I've repeated, but I've got a tweak on it too. His was, one thing you could do to rework maps without having to literally take them away for a year and do all like so. He said his point was you could just change up some of the bomb site setups, like change where the boxes are and stuff. I'll go one further because they've already done it on maps like Dust 2. You can also just do things like look at a key choke and change like a door direction. So they've done it on Dust 2 twice now, mate. Like they changed how the double doors function, like literally what material it was made out of, and then obviously famously the B door they literally reversed. They made it like a 180. You could do stuff like that too. That's a simple change, but it might completely change the dynamic. And then the other one for me is the way you solve the one you're talking about, Davey, is even though in a theory, in an adult world where people just try all the maps and then decide which one to veto, I would only ever want one to come in and one to go out each season. I'm sorry, the only way you avoid what you're talking about is you got to bring 2 in, bro. Because if you bring 2 in, they have to practice one, don't they? They can't veto both, and they know that if they don't practice the other one, someone's going to pick it. So I feel like if people are going to, because I know what you mean, I do still think pros are very cynical in that sense, and they don't want to like spend extra time trying to get good on a map they haven't played before. But I think you got to. I know what you mean. You have to force them in a way.
Yeah, well, and also, like, Valve, you were just talking about Ancient. Think about if they swapped the B doors on Ancient, too, to the other way around, so you couldn't peek to heaven from doors as a T. You've changed the entire dynamic of Banana at that point. Like, the T's timing to get up towards Cave is going to be slower. Like, you've changed the entire dynamic just like that, once again. But Ancient has got no love. They haven't changed it, and now people are starting to get bored of it. Pro teams aren't playing it as much. People are complaining about it. All they need is some little tweaks to the map, and they just don't. So, yeah, that's why. In summary, that's why that's my ugly point.
Now, on the topic of Valve removing maps, the way they do it and the mystery surrounding it, because technically, even though it looked like the way they did it last year was like, oh, they're sort of figuring out like the esports season and after major they do it, so, but they didn't really. They still sprung it on everyone out of nowhere. So we've actually got an interesting poly market here, which is which maps will Valve remove by the 30th of June? So basically, people don't know that'll be just after the major. And if you look, it's like actually there's a fairly healthy spread. Like at the moment, this is the percentages that's the odds according to the traders on Polymarket. So at the moment, the leader is Dust 2, actually is 44%. Inferno is 42%, but then you see there's still quite a healthy spread for a bunch of the other maps too. Essentially, if you look, nobody at the moment seems to think Anubis will be removed, or at least that's very low because obviously it's the new map and they don't tend to remove the new map, right? We can use this as a way to just discuss what is the next map that gets removed, Davey, and of these ones, which do you think is the most likely according to you?
Well, I'm very happy that Dust 2 is all the way up at the top. That would be great for me. I'm so tired of playing Dust 2, watching Dust 2. I think I've always and it's like the opposite of what I was talking about earlier. Statistically, Dust 2 has always been one of my better maps. I just don't like
Right.
it. I just hate it. I actually, ironically, I think Overpass is probably most likely to go next, just knowing how Valve
say so
does
too.
things. But I wouldn't be surprised if they take out Overpass. That would be the one that I think is most likely. But I'm very glad that Polymarket has Dust 2 as the top one, so that works for me.
I mean, I'm surprised that it's as low as it is Overpass. I feel like if we're going based off of what fans play, I'm generally pretty shocked about that. I don't know what kind of information is out there to make Dust 2 such a high probability prediction here. I'm actually just genuinely curious if people have answers for that one.
Probably that Valve has done it. They've taken it out a couple times before and put it back in.
More willing.
And also, there's that. Plus, it is one of the older maps, so maybe people think since they've done new maps the last 2 times, maybe they'll go back to an older one. I don't know.
The only thing is, if I'm actually picking from these ones, I personally don't think Dust 2 will get taken out. Like, I actually do think at this point in time they see it as the iconic Counter-Strike map. And if you notice, it's not, at least from the esports side, it's never really the one people bitch about. Maybe people don't like it and think it's played out, but it's not really a map everyone says is bad. So I actually think of the ones that are higher up, I would say Inferno's the higher chance. Like, I do feel like people do bitch about that semi-regularly on the esports side. And also, to me, if you just watch the way it plays out, at least in CS2 with like the saving meta, it's probably the worst map for that in my opinion. Like, it's one of the only maps I've ever seen where, for real, if you ever get someone do like a hard rotate like 4A and then the guy in B just dies on the attack from the T's, people will just save the entire round, which is like, if you can really save with 9 people alive and everyone has weapons and armor, like, there's probably something wrong with either the meta or the map. And since you're not going to change the meta because we bitch about it, the map at least plausible, you might rework or take out for a while and then bring it back. Thing is though, I will always add this as well, the other reason why I think it's actually reasonably safe to pick a classic map like a Dust 2 Inferno is because it's very likely they just rework it and bring it back. The real problem you have with the sort of verticals and the Anubis is you never know if that's ever coming back if it gets taken out. Or maybe that's just got, like, at this point in time, by the way, we haven't had any info, but it feels like Vertigo's gone forever, boys. Like, it was here for quite a long time. It was here for the longest of any fucking map without being taken out, but there's no indication at all it ever returns. So I actually think, not bad actually. I personally wouldn't pick those two. I'd be shocked if that is taken out. I'd say something like Inferno Mirage feels more plausible in terms of what people usually bitch about. Anyway.
Also, lightly though, based off of this whole Polymarket prediction in general, Valve sometimes takes pretty long after majors. June 30th, if there is just a against the field prediction here, as in they won't move anything by 9 days after, because I feel like the move to add Anubis back and remove Train, it definitely took, because the end of the Cologne major is June 21st, and it took over 9 days for them to swap Anubis back in and Train. I don't know if that's an option. I don't know if I'm just going completely off script here.
You just pick no. You just pick no against one of the maps.
Pick it's not happening. Pick it's not happening.
No, you just pick a map that's not. They're not taken out. The problem here is the June 30th is just a fact. I assume whoever created the market, the assumption that that's when they'll take it out. I agree though. Whether they take it out or not, no one knows whether that'll be the date. So you're also fairly safe. I think a lot of these you could pick no. That would be my suggestion.
I think Nuke is the safest no. I think there's no way they take Nuke out right now.
Okay. Anyway, let us continue with the ugly. So Maui, what is ugly at the moment?
Okay, I mean, my ugly point is more of what I hope to be an open forum discussion regarding this topic, which has been just super hot ever since Mr. JL was on the desk at Krakow. So I just want to kind of discuss it because it was brought up on Talking Counter also. I listened to the segment that Moses, Yanko, and Chad had regarding that, and I feel like for some people it's worth diving into deeper. I mean, I think we have the perspectives that myself, Thorin, and DAVEY have are all pertinent because, I mean, Thorin's worked at least 8 majors as an analyst. DAVEY worked a handful of events as an analyst as well. Obviously I'm an active analyst on events, and so we have different perspectives regarding the role, what its value is. And so I'll just list a couple of points immediately regarding it, and then everybody else can chime in with what they feel about it. Could be positive, could be negative, but I felt like from the discussion on Talking Counter, there were a couple of different issues addressed from it or angles taken. I mean, Yanko, closest to the role, of course, thinks that it could be carried out in a different way that is less of a PowerPoint slideshow, more so about freeform discussion. I think Moses took from Reddit that it's kind of on a decline, which I feel like is not an angle that I would have really actually gleaned from what I saw on the forums over the course of JL being at Krakow, but it's a take in itself. So I'm just going to list a couple what I would consider objective reasons that the analyst desk is pertinent and valuable to this. Obviously, of course, there's bias given that my primary role on broadcast isn't as an analyst. I'm not trying to disguise that at all. But I also think that it's been shown over the course of sports media for the last multiple decades that it is a valuable role and one that can be properly monetized in a way that makes sports broadcasts better. So I would say from a more meta standpoint at first, I think one of the most valuable aspects of the broadcast or analyst desk at the broadcast is that it continues fan engagement before and after a game and gives people a reason to tune in. I mean, I think a lot of people, when they watch those in a pregame segment especially, are looking to take something into the game. It's giving them a reason to watch the game, and it's also giving them a reason after the game to take something away so that it can kind of stick in their mind. Like the amount of people right now where my whole aspect of ZywOo's lack of cultural impact, like that's living rent-free in tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of minds. But I'll stop patting myself on the back here, and I'll even cite some of the topics from other analysts from the last couple of years. I felt like Pimp's take on Navi being a fluke at their win at the Copenhagen Major was probably one of the most talked about topics for maybe 8 months of 2024. Like ever since he said it, it was, what is a fluke? Is Navi a fluke team? Are they going to sustain the success? And as they continued to prove themselves, it kind of made Pimp's point even more relevant regarding, oh, they weren't a fluke, but it's like, then the discussion kept continuing about it. And if I want to go to someone else that I consider an elite analyst in Yanko, his anti-art campaign around when he was about to be benched from Fury was also extremely pertinent. Like people were wondering, is Art a fraud? Is he ever good? Was he ever helpful for this team? Is he holding back Kay Serrato and Yuri from achieving their full potential? And all of those discussions help people latch on even greater into Counter-Strike than they otherwise would be, because there's a talking head figure with some sort of authority that is bringing a discussion to the table that then they continue with even after the broadcast ends. And so also I think that the conversation of there was a bit of a conversation on talking counter. I think it was kind of more leaning towards what Moses was bringing up about like, should the desk just go away or something like that. I mean, I think the most objective and even qualifiable reason that the desk is valuable is that it's an attention holder for sponsor integrations. I know that just kind of seems like a cop-out, sell-out reason, but it's what makes esports sustainable, that you can put an ad for whatever company on the desk, and frankly speaking, we don't really complain. Like it's not that I love doing all the sponsor segments every single time, but I will give it my all on those because I understand at the end of the day, this is what's paying my bills. And I know that on a live cast that it doesn't always have the same place that it does on a desk, where you can have a little bit of a cheeky integration. And I mean, as a counter for what ESL have done in the stead of desks, obviously they're doing skits, but I think people now know, based off of what one of the ex Astralis staff members, heroic staff members, have said, that's kind of a drain on pro players. I don't think you can really always expect them every single time to be fully willing to record hours of a skit every single time. And also, it doesn't really create a longer lasting conversation. Like, people can enjoy a Lord of the Rings skit in the moment, but there's no consistent conversation where people are hearkening back to, hey, guys, remember the fact that Snacks had a little funny bit? He had a cameo in that Lord of the Rings. It doesn't really last in the same way that a conversation does. And conversationalists like the ones that I mentioned, including myself, including people like Richard Lewis, those are such longer lasting effects that drive engagement to the Counter-Strike space that really a broadcast doesn't have if they don't have a desk and they don't establish people who they consider esteemed enough to carry those sorts of talks out.
Do I go first, Duncan, on that one?
Yeah, go on.
So totally agree with you. I do also agree with your initial point that Not necessarily exactly what you said, but that the analyst desk doesn't have, I think it was, you said it was Yanko that said it. The analyst desk doesn't have to be like a weatherman segment, like a slideshow, right? You could almost do a podcast vibe, which is, I think PGL's sort of going that way. It feels like not quite. It's a little bit still, analyst desky, but especially because everyone, the relationship with the hosts, like Richard and all, because everyone has that relationship, it makes the conversations flow easier. I just wanted to double, I'll back you up on your sponsorship point, because even though people are going to hate that that's the point, it shouldn't matter, blah, 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 that actually obviously does matter a lot. And the people that stay tuned in for an analyst segment, from the sponsor's point of view, those are the most valuable people because they have high attention. They're the ones who are watching the analyst segment. Because if you're going to stay and watch an analyst segment, that means that you are there, you're focused, you are interested in what they have to say. So from a sponsor's point of view, that is probably one of the higher value ad spots that they can give you, because the attention is essentially guaranteed. And then your point on the ZywOo, no cultural impact, the pimp thing, blah, blah. Even though I would say, let's just say realistically, 95% of the people that talk about that didn't see that moment live on the analyst desk. But what the analyst desk does is it creates clip farming opportunities, which then boost things even more. So these things that you're talking about that are now cultural jargon, essentially, even going back even further, Thorin introduced the concept of eras to Counter-Strike. Now people just talk about it.
Yeah.
Like there's pro players like JL who just say, maybe we could have had our era back then. He doesn't even know where it came from. Like there's this unquantifiable value going back however long that these things have. And so if you might be able to look at it short term and say, well, look, 70% of the viewers leave when it switches to the analyst desk. But those 70% of the people might see a clip, even though they left, they might see a clip 30 minutes later about it, and they feel like because they watched the whole game that they were involved in that clip, even if they didn't watch the segment. So it's much more important than just face value who's looking at it right now on Twitch Live.
Yeah, by the way, if there's one thing, I'll tie it to the GL one. Like, the joke is, I even like Mauisnake, like Mr. L. The joke is, what did anyone expect for him? A big L. It's even the way his name is written. And my joke with GL would be, if you asked him, how did he come up with that name? He'd be like, well, the J stands for giant, doesn't it? There you go. That's a little. Listen, I know how to do his jokes better than him, mate. That's the problem. By the way, I'll tell you actually the reason why GL is a great example of the problem with the analyst desk. Bro, he even made a video where he admitted this. He thought his job was to be an analyst, right? Whoever hired you to do that job, they're fired from ESL as far as I'm concerned. Because this person, I can tell you, they don't have super strong English, and they're someone who needs a little bit of time to think. That person wasn't suited to be an analyst. Like, what you should actually have told them for real is just be funny or something. Be your stream persona, basically. Just be entertaining. Because he could have done that, by the way. He could have had some silly angle or said some. By the way, if he's even one of these people who actually could have connected with the Gen Z and done all the Zoomer memes as the aura of this. But fans would have enjoyed that. That actually is an angle. If he'd have understood that coming in as like his profile on the desk, he could have done that. Instead, what they did was they threw him in there and basically they told him sort of to do what Dupree's do, which is you're just an analyst now, mate. In theory, it's not even the fact that you're an ex-pro. That's just how you got your foot in the door. You're supposed to analyse in the same way as Yanko would, or Maui if he was hired, or Pimp would. Like, remember, no one treats Pimp as an ex-pro, even though he wasn't a pro. His angle's never, so Pimp, what would he be thinking in the game? It's, what do you think about the game, Pimp? What happened on Mirage? Should they change up their veto, etc.? And the problem is, all that stuff you could say GL couldn't handle. But actually, this is where, Maui, I have seen loads of stupid comments about the analyst desk, specifically from the GL one. You would be amazed how many people on Reddit defended GL, but their logic went, because the analyst desk shit anyway, and besides, what even is an analyst? And my favourite one was people actually tried to say, this is the craziest, like, test case for credulity I could imagine. They'd said, well, what sort of things would Pimp and Maui have said anyway that GL didn't say? Fucking words? Anything? Analysis?
Anything.
Like, that. But what that shows, though, Maui, is those people, what they're really arguing is, well, this is fine because I don't give a shit about this particular part of the broadcast anyway, which is a bad sign, because you want them to say they're so dumb they haven't thought this through. The only angle for GL being good is if you actually thought he was good, you cretin. Not just that you think the role's worthless anyway, so who cares if GL's there or not. So I would tie it back to this. What I would say is this. I actually think the big flaw people have is you don't want it to be no analysis, because then why we do it's not only a stand-up comedy show, but you don't want it to be only jokes as well, and you don't want it to be purely only analysis. If it's purely only analysis, think people do get a bit burned out after watching the game. Like, I'll give you an example. After watching many desks over the years, I actually think the Weatherman segment is completely misused. Here's why. I don't ever myself actually want to see a Weatherman segment after a game. I can tell you, I do a podcast at the moment with King T, where he has a section where Ted gets to do sort of a Weatherman over a demo with, like, you know, the little circles moving around. And I can tell you, I can handle maybe the first round he does, but when he does 3 or 4 rounds in a row, it's like, mate, this is really hard to follow. And I do follow the game on a super close. Like, a casual fan's just glazed over after the first round, mate. What he really wanted was 1 round and he wanted the gist. And in fact, I actually think this is why I would never do it after the game. After the game, you've already watched the game. You can already remember the vague things. What you want to do is this. A Weatherman segment, in my opinion, should be before the map, and it should be one thing that you show them. What you basically tell them is, same as you would on like a sports broadcast, like, watch out for this one thing that they do cool, and then you can have that in your mind in the game. I think that's the best way to use that feature, because that is a feature that the reason why it's been constantly crammed into analyst desks is because people think the analyst desk is stale and they want to spice it up and bring something new and take advantage of all these experts. And then the last thing I would say is this. The joke is, it's fucking convenient that someone like Morgster would be like, yeah, maybe the desk will wait. What, because you don't do it anymore, you fuck. I tell you what, how about let's get rid of casters? How about that, you twat? Because you know what? Me and Lopez figured this out 20 years ago. You know what you actually want? You want 2 streams, 1 set of casters, you're just fucking play-by-play. All you do is go, oh, dog, what are you doing? 1, 2, 3, skibbity D, and he gets a kill for me. Like, you just want that shit that you think's fucking amazing. I just did it there off the top of the cuff. That was better than half the clips that'll be nominated for Clip of the Year. What I want is an actual expert-only stream. I want a B stream with no casting, where, like a watch party, experts just sit and watch the game and say what you'd say in the green room without the spice of, like, watch out for this. What are they doing on this cat? What's up? That's actually, if you're an expert, that's what you want. You don't really want the fucking, like, listen, I'm not a twat. I don't mute the casters. They're fine. But I don't really get that into it, because I'm trying to think about what's happening in the bloody round. Like, why did they lose that? Why did that flank come off? I can't come into the, like, oh my God, Chopper, this is your moment. I can't do all that, mate. Like, I can't watch WWE. I know too much about how the sausage is made. Like, that doesn't work for me. That's why I just said that. I don't think you're actually as good as you imagine you are. So anyway, it's all rich that you all fucked off the analyst there. Now we should shut it down. Last thing to say is this, and this is the most important point. I'll tell you who you shouldn't take advice from about the analyst desk. Fans who say, what even is it? I don't like it. Or talent who go, yeah, it's boring and still. How about listen to the people who have the ideas to make it interesting? If you all agree that it sucks at the moment, why would you keep on doing it till it sucks so much we shut it down? Surely if it sucks, we can actually experiment a bit and do some of the things we're talking about. Like, by the way, how we even agree, I would tell you this. If you have a 20-minute segment for an analyst desk, I would just do it like a 20-minute podcast segment. And I actually think all the hosts, by the way, would love this if you told them to do that. I can tell you right now, people like Freya are super professional, because that's what the producer tells them that they want. They want the broadcast in that way, with a very formulaic thing. They want to hit the graphics. They want it to reference each If you told her instead, a bit like a tech girl, just do a fucking podcast vibe. Take the 2 topics from the game and weave it in between the analysts and have a bit of fun with it and let them make a joke if they want. And then eventually you just reel them back in at the end and go, right, and after the break, we're going to talk about Overpass. I think if you did that, I think way more people would be engaged by the analyst desk, in my opinion, because I don't disagree. I think they've allowed it to become stale, but now we're doing this thing where we changed it to be bad, and then we're pretending like it's not that we made it bad, it's that the thing is bad, so it shouldn't exist. Like, I think that could be an amazing segment. You should have to rework it.
Yeah, well, and the people who comment are also just idiots. That's like the other thing too, is that people commenting on Reddit. In 2019, there was a weather. I was doing Pro League, and Pimp was on the desk with me for this segment, and they wanted me to do Weatherman, and I was like, okay, Pimp, this would be really. When I'm doing Weatherman, you come up and push me out of the way and say this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. Let me do this here. Yeah, and I just thought that'd be funny, right?
Yeah,
like, I don't care. Like,
yeah, a little WWE scare. I love it.
Yeah, doesn't bother me at all, right? And so we did that. Pimp pushed me out of the way, and then there was a whole Reddit thread about how Pimp's an asshole for telling his coworker that he doesn't know what he's talking about. And I'm like, oh my God, you guys are so fucking dumb. Like, you think that just happened organically? Like, no, that was just to be funny, guys. Like, Jesus. But there was like, and then Pimp started getting a bunch of hate for it. I was like, dude, I'm sorry, man.
By the way, that would even have been a good way to introduce JL, have something similar, have him come along and then chuck someone out like, hey, stop talking. What do you know about the bloody game, Yanko? And then JL, that would actually be at least a skate. You get some out of it, don't you? It's something funny. So
that's the thing too, is that JL went in and he thinks like as the ex-pro, first of all, also just throwing it out there for everyone who watches Analyst Desk or commentary or anything, that first time somebody does it, when they get the "and you're live" in your ear, freeze. Like people
of course.
just fucking freeze.
Yep.
If you've never done it before, it's not the same as finishing a game and doing an interview with the interviewer. It's not the same thing. It's a totally different thing. People just freeze. I remember my first segment where Trace was like trying to fix my mic for me, and I was like, what's going on? And I just asked him that live, right? Because I was like, what's happening? He was like, oh, just fixing something for you. Like, you freeze, man. You freeze. So like you were saying, if someone just told him, dude, just be funny, relax, not that big of a deal. You're not here to be like a tactical expert. You're just here because you're a big name, you're entertaining, go do your thing. That would have worked out so much better for him.
By the way, that's where when people think, anyone could just look stuff up. One, you can't look it up on the desk, you have to have it in your brain. And two, you would all choke if you tried that. Like, when I do a deep pull from like 5 years ago and remember the specific thing, that's like magic to people who work the desk, mate. They don't even know how I do that. It's actually hard, because as you're saying, Davey, you have to sort of not think about where you are, the fact that all the cameras are watching and there's all fucking millions of people, and that you have to, in 2 seconds, throw. Like, if you think of any of that, it's like looking down when you go to the tightrope, you just fall, mate, of course. I know what you mean, though. You can't really know it until you're in the setting, though. Everyone thinks, easier, because we're all sat on the couch thinking what we would say, but it's different when you're in the moment. I know what you mean.
And I always thought it too. I've never had social anxiety. I have no problem public speaking for my entire life. Nothing. And that first segment I got on, as soon as I get to go live, and it's just me and Trace. Like, I was a solo analyst, me and Trace. All the desk, and I was like, oh shit. Oh, wait, what? Oh, I had all these points I was going to say. Oh, God, I don't remember. Oh, good thing I have my notes. Oh, my God, I can't read them right now. He's asking me a question.
Yeah.
Fuck. Like, it's stressful at first, so it's not surpaying.
By the way, there's another thing. Notes will never save you, because there's actually nothing worse than when you go, it's around here somewhere. Yeah. Like, mate, just give it up at that point. It's over. You're done. You're never going to find it. And also, a little quick detail just for people, because we've all done the role, but you'll be able to relate. If you try reading something on a piece of paper like that, your brain's not even reading. You're just like, what am I doing? What shit? Like, I'm just looking at stuff like, you'll never find it, mate. It's over. Because there was actually even a segment like that. Bro, this happened on E-League. There was once a segment, right, believe it or not, where Sir Scoots had to come and be the analyst because, like, I think Moses had to like go and do an event. Maybe he did like DreamHack or something. You know, you had to go for the weekend. So we had to have Sir Scoots, who, by the way, has like known CS his whole life. He'd been in the scene for like 15 years at this point. But he did that. He tried coming with a massive stack of notes. Like, I've got all my research. And then during the segment, no joke, he was doing that. Like, I think they've got like it's got to be around here somewhere. Like a 72%. Oh no, sorry, that's Inferno. Like, you'd think it was a skip, but he was actually just choking his tits off focus. He was trying to like search through some notes. I was like, give it up, mate. I said, forget that. Just go to the next thing, Scoots. Like, what are you doing? You killing me.
You always fall into that though. You do at first. Like, even I had like all my map win rates on a piece of paper, and I'm like going through them, same thing. And then I realized after one segment, I'm like, it's better to just kind of know what their best is and just say it, and it's fine. Like, even if you get it wrong and someone makes a comment about it, like, oh, he said Overpass was their best map, but it's actually Mirage. Like, who fucking cares? It doesn't actually matter that much. Like, that small detail. Okay, sorry, Overpass is their second best map. They still like it. The other team wants to ban it. Like, so it doesn't matter. Like, that's when you realize that you're just there to entertain people, it becomes a lot easier.
That's exactly it. I feel like also the aspect of the role of being called analyst has just kind of almost set the role back by decades, by longer than the roles even existed. I mean, it really should have always
from now on.
Exactly. Talking head pundit's the best single word way to describe what they're doing, but like most of the people that are doing sports broadcasts in Europe or in America, I would call them pundits or entertainers before I would ever use the word analyst. I think formally, I guess it is called an analyst, but I don't expect Charles Barkley to break down a play for me. I mean,
by the way, that's even the giveaway that no one wants an analyst desk. Nobody in any pro sport, bro, even the NFL, probably the sport that requires the most breakdown of what was happening on the routes. It's boring. It just is. It's fucking shit. What you actually want to know is not what route did the wide receiver run? Why didn't he get a touch? Why didn't he get a touchdown? Why didn't they go to him on the fourth down? You know what I mean? Like, that's the shit you actually want, which is just punditry. And by the way, there's the other thing as well. All fucking major sports are coming more towards what I'm talking about, podcast vibe, CBS Galazio and football, inside the NBA. If anything, that's what's missing now. If people don't know, they changed them to ESPN and they barely ever put them on now. They used to be on every week. Like that, the joke was, you could not even care about what happened in the games. You tune in to see how they're going to roast the fucking star that failed us. Like, that's half the entertainment, wasn't it? So if anything, nobody wants super analysis.
Football podcasts. Like Sky Sports is doing the overlap. They have like all these different podcasts that they're doing, like all of professional soccer. Like you said, like sure, there is still segments at halftime and after the games, but that's supplemented with like hour and a half long podcasts of the same people just sitting around talking about what happened that week in the sport. And that's the interesting shit. That's the shit I watch. That's the stuff I want to listen to. Going back to what you said before about the there being like a B stream where it's just people talking. That's essentially, if you put a mic in the green room during a game, that's essentially what that is. Like everyone's sitting around talking about the game. I remember during COVID, me and Alex were working some of the online dream hacks, and like we were throughout the whole game. You're just sitting there like, why are they doing that? Why are they doing that?
Those conversations were better than the actual analysis test.
It was way better. It was way better because that was shit online NACS, right? So we're sitting here watching it and just like, and there's one time where Alex, I remember it was on Overpass. He's like, watch, they're waiting here. They have 2 on A, and he's gonna walk into bathrooms and die to this guy, and they're gonna lose. Watch, here it comes. Yeah, here it goes. Yeah, he's dead. There it goes, round over. And that shit would be funny to listen to.
Absolutely.
Like, I don't know why people don't do that. And like, and also, no one on the broadcast team would care. Like,
no.
It's not like nothing would change. I know like the green room is like sacred to a certain extent, but like if it's like during the game, okay, by the way, everyone's going to be mic'd up for this game and you're just going to sit around and watch it. Even if they don't have it going out live constantly, even if they're just clip farming from it, it would still be good content.
Yeah, great. Okay.
Yeah,
Go on.
I mean,
this segment has lasted forever, by the way. So,
I think that's a significant wrap up on it. Yeah,
right, I'll go now to my ugly point. I've actually picked this very carefully because, bro, one of the things I find so weird about CS is I'll actually just break down for you what my theory is on how most people CS matches, right? Most people don't have a really good memory. I say that as someone where I don't think I have some insane memory, but I just notice compared to other people. I just do compared to other people. So, because I don't remember everything, to me, it's like I remember some things I don't. So the area that I know that most people have a bad memory is, I think most fans, no joke, genuinely just think of the last match when you talk about a player or a team. They just remember the last match they saw them play. It's why actually fans will have really out there takes about players from one map. Like they'll see one map with the player top frags and they'll be like, by the way, I actually think the ultimate example of this was the fucking guy Ultimate in Team Liquid. Because every now and then he'd just have one map where he dropped 30 kills. That would make a fan hold on forever. Like, no, he could still be really good. And then you'd be like, no, but look at like his 6-month stats or look at his T-side stats on this map. And they never, essentially, I don't think fans really use stats that much. So the player I think, and I've picked this especially for my ugly, the player I think is the most misjudged player in all of Pro Counter-Strike has to be Mauisnake from Falcons. Bro, I actually feel like I'm on some, like, I'm in the twilight zone every time I see people talk about him. Because what happens is, yes, he absolutely has had some massive chalk games in like playoffs or right before the play. Basically, he's had some very memorable individual games where he was shit. But here's what I don't think people get. Have you ever seen the stats if you go on like a bigger picture though? They're always unbelievable. Like you can go right now, Davey, do the top players on HLT. He's going to be top 5, I guarantee you. With any metric you put on, he's going to be top 5. And by the way, his actual rating is going to be bonkers. It's going to be like, this guy should be in contention for best player in the world. Now, the reason he isn't, I get it, it's because Duncan and ZywOo go super deep in the tournament and they tend to carry even when they lose the game, if you know what I mean, which is one area I do think Mauisnake's failed. So one, I feel like fan perception is weird. When I hear fans talk, no joke, they make it sound like Mauisnake is like in fucking Torgy territory stats wise, you know, like he has the odd good game, he's good, but he's a bit overrated and you know, he's a 1 point. This guy's got bonkers numbers. And then also, the reason I wanted to pick him as my ugly is I do think there is a valid criticism though, and that is this. So I was watching the other day, if you ever know the CS frag movie maker called Smokey, he actually does movies which are more my style, where he incorporates a lot of the casting and things that people say in videos, but then he also makes the action quite clean. He doesn't do that thing I hate where they like put an effect on every kill so you can't bloody see it. And he did one about Mauisnake, and when you watch this Mauisnake clip, it's just like a bunch of more recent clips, you just remember like, holy fuck, this guy's actually insane at the game. He's not even just a good player. Like, you remember the whole thing with Mauisnake was he was the next Simple. By the way, he's the only one I think ever deserved that title. Like his game even suited it. He was progressing similarly. So I will say this, I also think they got a point though. Here's what's ugly, is that he is still just the next Simple. Bro, he should be Simple now. Like, I actually genuinely think when I watch this guy's game, I'm like, if it wasn't for whatever weird choking thing he has got, he has actually unbelievably talented. Like, the joke is, you know, back in the day when you had ZywOo and Simple, and then the joke was there was Device, and it was like, well, Device, isn't it? They're never going to let you be number one because no one actually thinks you're as good, unfortunately. Like, you can win every trophy, every MVP. Mauisnake isn't even in that category, mate. You watch his game and his skills are like about as good as you could ever see. I'd swear, if you go and watch this frag movie, you will actually just think, like, isn't this the best player? Like, what the fuck is this? And you have to go and watch a Donk game to remember, like, oh, fuck no, maybe Donk is better. But, like, I genuinely think, that's why I put it as ugly. Fans, one, I do think he's just shit. But then, two, they're not totally wrong. There is something missing to stop him being the best player. And when I watch his game, I think he should be the best player. I don't know. I don't know. I know it's easy to say that, but I think he's just got the whole package. I don't know what's up with him. So what do you think, Davey? What do you think about Mauisnake?
Well, I have a follow-up question for you. Do you think he would have evolved or gotten better faster or gotten to a higher ceiling if he had stayed in Russian teams instead of?
That's certainly an interesting question, isn't it?
Back to Falcons.
That's certainly an interesting question.
What do you think? Because, I mean, there's Shiro, who's there, completely different style of Opper. Like, sure, Shiro's great, and maybe the yin and yang of Donk and Shiro works better. But maybe you put Mauisnake with Donk instead, and all of a sudden, he's unlocked. Just as you said, Mauisnake's essentially fourth. VSM is technically above him, but, like, that doesn't really count. So Mauisnake is fourth, right there with Kaiosuke. So he is, as far I mean, yeah, he could be the third best player in the world statistically. Technically, Kaiosuke's .01 rating above him, so obviously he's incredible. But I think that whole team sort of struggles with the playoff choking. I mean, obviously Nico's well documented at this point to a certain extent.
Yes.
Mauisnake as well, and on top of listen, I'm a hate watcher and I love it. I thrive on it, but at the same time, that does have to weigh on them, knowing that everyone wants them to fail. Yeah, I don't know if Zonik is the type of coach to get that, like, everyone else against us vibe out, like, to bring the best out of the players in that way. I don't know if that's his vibe or not. I have no idea, but clearly that something isn't going super well.
I just say that the people that are saying that Mauisnake isn't all that are the people that are only tuning in for the very final game he plays at tournaments that he loses. Yeah. I mean, unfortunately for Falcons, that is every tournament because they haven't been winning tournaments. But in general, Mauisnake and Falcons' shortcomings definitely are most revealed in their elimination games where the pressure gets to them the most. This is why in the past, when I've been asked about what should Falcons do, if they had to make a move, what would they do? I don't really see an obvious roster upgrade for them. I mean, that being said, I mean, yes, like, could you get somebody better in maybe Kicksan's role, Testis's role, Nico switching to IGL, sure. But I would just say Zonic's had enough opportunities for a couple years now with the Falcons paycheck, with an open, you know, it's an open check, or like it's a blank check. He can write anything to anybody practically at this point. Has only lifted a single trophy. Didn't make it to a couple majors consecutively. So for me, I'd say most of the blame is on him on not getting these guys on the same page in high pressure moments, which to me is outlining how do we want to play these sorts of mostly advantage situations out. I don't think that comes down to Mauisnake, but unfortunately, it makes Mauisnake look like he's ending the map with egg on his face because they lose a 5-on-2, a 5-on-3, it doesn't matter. And so when you watch everything else that Mauisnake does throughout a year, though, it's just flat out spectacular. And I almost feel like, because I think another funny conversation that emerged in the last 3-5 months or whatever is the Molodoi versus Mauisnake. It's not really particularly close. It's really not particularly close.
That's the one I always say, Maui. No. If you asked a fan, if I got the two HLTV ratings and hid them, the fan would assume Mauisake's rating was Molodoi's and vice versa, even though they'd be wrong.
Of course.
They all think, because by the way, Molodoi has the other thing. He can have a whole matches he doesn't do out, but he always looks great in the fucking mass match, doesn't he, or the big final, or he goes, I know what you mean. It teases you for sure.
With the exception of major playoffs, Molodoi has been great, and I love that we have a new name entering the Elite Oppers conversation, but Mauisnake on any given day is going to be better than Molodoi. I would take a Mauisnake in any given match 4 out of 5 times over Molodoi. Yes. That being said, there is the 1 out of 5 that Molodoi, I like him. And like I said, I felt like I was hyping up Molodoi pretty early on also because of what I saw at Astana and some of the early second season games from 2025. But no, Mauisnake is still just so giga elite, and people downplaying his greatness right now are kind of just outing themselves as being casuals. That's just what it is. I mean, ZywOo and Donk are in another tier right now. Like to me, they're the lone occupants of what I would consider the S tier of players. But Mauisnake is probably in an S- of his own or an A+. It's really, the margins are really slim right now, and Mondesi still clears. He still clears Shiro to me. I don't care what the ratings say at the end of the day. I just say that Mondesi is way more impactful from the eye test. Shiro is extremely clutch. He's so reliable. I like that. I really enjoy that as an opper. But if you ask me tomorrow, make one of these guys your hard carry for a roster, I'm taking Mondesi in a heartbeat. There's no question about it.
Well, Mondesi, the way he even just moves, like you brought up eye test, there isn't a single wasted movement on anything he does in the game. Every time he pulls out a nade, every time he strafes one way, he moves. No matter what he does, it's like he's like fucking fully just like connected to the mouse and keyboard, which is connected to the game, which is connected to this big hive mind he has with him in the game. And he just, every single thing he does around the map is so smooth and so just beautiful to watch. That like that level, just from a technical standpoint, is so hard like to get to. Like he looks like what KZ players look like when they're beating a world record run, but he's moving that smoothly in Pro CS. It's like incredible.
Plus, to tie to what I said about the fact that I think he could actually just again be in the discussion with Duncan Mondesi if he just gets ZywOo if he gets his shit together. Is bro, he will have like an off game and still end with like a 1.2 rating for the fucking tournament. If Teosi had that, he'd have hit every shot in the entire game. Like that would have been his life game, mate. Where you'd never think he made a mistake. So it shows that there's still like and I'll just challenge anyone. Go watch this frag movie. You will think it's the best player when you're watching it. It's actually nuts. Okay, Maui.
Well. Yeah, no, I mean, I've met a couple of the people that have actually really disliked Mondesi, and the one thing I can say is that they just smell so bad. They just smell so terribly. Like they're clearly not practicing.
I've been working on that.
Remotely, proper hygiene has just really eluded these types of folks. And I would say that the one thing that they can do to obviously make sure that at least one aspect of that, their eye test is clearly bad, but at least their smell test could change with Mando. So what they should be obviously doing is grabbing some Mando, go to shopmando.com, shopmando.com, use our promo code CS2, and you can smell so much better for 20% off. I mean, it's also got free shipping when you use our promo code. Personally, I have been loving all of their whole body deodorant because this is a group that has rethought how deodorants should work. They've actually kind of built deodorant from the ground up. They're not just trying to make an antiperspirant. They're actually rethinking how bacteria interacts with chemicals, trying to eliminate the odor part of all of that. And so myself, I have switched entirely to Mando products. I smell great now. I get off long flights from California all the way to Europe. I literally have told some of my co-broadcast talent, hey, can you just smell me to make sure, let's see how good these products work. Let's make sure they work well. And I can say on a record, Connor, Scrawny, Gervin has told me I don't smell anything. I think you smell good. Or lightly, he'll be like, is that a little I can't put my finger on it, but it's like a nice herb smell, you know, like a fresh, it's like he's out on a winter day. And so get your own, and you can smell like me. You can smell good to Scrawny. Maybe you guys like him as a caster. I'm not gonna say, imply any kind of bias with that statement, but either way, go to shopmando.com and you can get your own. They got their own deodorants, they got their own wipes, they got all these types of products. All of them will make you smell good, unlike the people that have told me face to face that Mondesi's bad.
I can't even believe that that's even real, but sadly people are like that, aren't they? I know. But if people don't know, just to give to corroborate how bad fans are, we even had one on Hot Take Point Made the other day, Davey. And this is a real take that a fan submitted and like doubled down on and made all the reasons. He not only thought Elise was overrated, but listen to why. He said that the eye test for Elise's aim doesn't check out. And I was like, holy fuck. Like, but I said, mate, if you take out Duncan Nico, I know who was left. Like at that point, he's as good aim as anyone in CS. But that's just what fans are like, bro. It's why the joke of the eye test is, it's why people just let the analyst desk go, what even is it? It's like, you don't have it. You don't have it, so that's why you think it's not any good. I get it, unfortunately. It is just like sort of saying we're Jedis and you can't see the fucking Force, can you, you dickhead? So nothing. Listen, it's not my fault you're not Force sensitive, you know.
Yeah, it's like Kaiosuke's pretty shit for a rookie. I mean, compared to that other rookie that came through the year before, this guy's just bad. He's just a bad player.
Yeah.
Like whoever that guy was before, I don't know, but yeah, this guy Kaiosuke is just bad compared to what we've had recently.
Right. Well, now we are moving on to the good. So, Davey, what is actually good at the moment?
What is good at the moment for me is the move that Passion UA is making. Not necessarily. Direct. I mean, obviously, I do think the players are better. Like, I do think, like, Senzu, obviously, if he can figure out his playoff choking, just, like, mechanically, he'll be the best player on that team, no question. Try is very good. I don't think he has like this mega high ceiling. He's maybe more of like a Torji style. Like I don't think he's going to reach the Molodoys or the that level, but he's very good. He's solid. Halzerk had plateaued, not a bad opper, just he had plateaued. We saw what his ceiling was, and Try's is likely higher. So I like both of those moves. And I just think that it's just overall a good move for them. And it shows ambition as well. Like that they're not just because that sort of complexity core had been together for how long now, where they had like little spikes and then they would go out last in a tournament, right? And then it was like, okay, but everyone sort of knew where they were. Top 15, maybe top 10, around there. And that was sort of it. So I like that they're actually showing some ambition. I really like JT as an in-game leader in general. I actually think he does a really good job, and that team realistically probably performed better than they ever should have. I think the ups and downs are kind of a direct result of if they have a good day, they're a good team. If they have a bad shooting day, they're a bad team. And that's sort of just how it is. Like there was no, like they had sort of reached their ceiling. And so I think this is a good move. I think it makes them better. I also like that it's a fully international lineup, going way, I'm not going to say I'm a trendsetter or anything, but many, many years ago, we did try something similar. So I'm hoping this time maybe it goes a little bit better.
And with a Mongolian, if I'm not mistaken, surely.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, nothing's ever gone wrong with bringing the Mongolians to Europe. So never had any issues there.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like I like the topic. I feel like the regardless of who they even replace, because I feel like there's been some murmurings now that it's not actually Nyx that's going out for Senzu, that it's actually Grim because he's going to NRG and Nyx is going to stay. It kind of throws a little bit of a wrench into this, but regardless of that fact, I feel like it doesn't matter. I mean, it doesn't matter completely. Like I would prefer for JT's sake that he gets to keep Grim as opposed to Nyx because he's just a better player. I like Nyx in terms of potential, but I feel like it's been a little rocky for him, especially when he plays better opposition. So but I've wanted to see JT with better tools for a while. And I think that this is now finally his opportunity to show that he has a little bit more than what he's been in terms of just potential as an IGL. Because in reality, the way that IGLs are so frequently graded is just who wins the most. And I feel like there's almost a deficit of eye tests given when grading IGLs, as so many people just simply resort to who are the highest ranked teams in the world. Now let me just rank the IGLs 1 through 5 based off of who the best 5 teams were. It's not really that simple, and I feel like the more, dare I say, connoisseurs of Counter-Strike have a bit more to give than that. And I think JT, for those that have really been trying to watch a little bit closer, have earmarked him as being one for the future and one that can do more if he were given that opportunity. Because even with Elige, he was a single win away from making the playoffs of Copenhagen, and that's with in 2024, I think Elige was the only person on his team. Yeah, definitely was the only person on his team that was top 20, and he was kind of, in HLTV's eyes, barely in the top 20. So that's extremely impressive already. So to see him have more to work with is just really exciting, because also I'll even go a step further and just kind of talking about JT's journey. I mean, when he was calling for extra salt in some of those early teams, he was kind of a exec out of spawn or just like set strat guy, and there wasn't always the best mid rounding, but he definitely developed over the years. He definitely gained a greater eye for how he needs to move people around. He started seeing the chessboard as it was developing live, so he was able to make the proper mid rounds and understand where there were likely going to be weaknesses, which is why you would see them have the infrequent, but we all knew it was possible, deeper results at tournaments, even with I would say weaker pieces than what some of the other guys were working with in the top 10. And so this is just really exciting in that aspect. On top of that, I think even beyond this, just the little nice JT story, by and large, the best aspect for this for me is seeing Senzu play more. I don't think that I don't want to understate that even for a moment, that this guy 100% should be playing top level Counter-Strike, and I want to see him play more of it. So I'm super glad to see that he's going to have an opportunity to do that within the first 2 months of the year.
Right, I agree with most of what was said. I actually did a video not that long ago on exactly this topic because, and look, the funny thing is, I never thought this move was possible. They could get someone like a Senzu. I actually thought when I made the video, what I'm trying to send the message of the industry is, if you're a bigger team, like if you are like a fucking Team Liquid or a Mouse or something, and you're thinking, well, there's no IGL to get, there's someone you can actually give a try. And if you go and look at all the teams he's worked with, I think he's more than earned that shot to go to a bigger team. Look, true, you do get the thing, same as in sports, where someone's more successful with lesser talents and, they can mould them and all that crap. And sometimes those people, when they get the chance to go up to the bigger club, they don't always make it. But the point is, you sort of earn that spot by working with lesser pieces. And if you just look at the history of this guy's game, literally, far and away the best player he ever had was that Elite. She was pretty good. Then after that, for real, his stars are Grim and Halzerg, depending on which year we're talking about. And even then, with those teams, he is upsetting the best teams. He's coming close to doing it. Like, he's usually like a map away from making playoffs. Like, if this last major, he could have beaten that FaZe clan. He gave a better game to FaZe clan than fucking Mouse did on stage. That's a joke. So, no, I think if you look at it, like, it's an example where it's like, it has to be the IGL, mate. I refuse to believe, like, Grim's actually just secretly that good. He probably wouldn't make it if he went to a bigger team. Similarly, like, I don't think it's like Halzerg's secret AWPer. Like, he's just an alright AWPer, and he. So, first of all, I actually love the idea that he gets, like, an extra chance in this team, his team, with some better pieces. And I actually think both signings are bangers in the context of who the team is. So, Senzu, right, is obviously a massive name. Look, the obvious thing for him is, why aren't you just in Mongols, you idiot? That's a better team for you, and you actually have a chance to win. So we assume at this point in time, something must have happened that he reason he can't be in. I'm sorry, I just don't buy the idea. It was burnout, and then magically they just go their separate ways. It just doesn't make any sense to me. But, go on.
Oh, he's only on loan, actually, apparently.
Sure.
He's not actually transferred in. So there's that element of maybe they're sending him to Passion UA to, like, okay, get it going again, get back in, prove yourself that you're still able to play at a high level, and then they can bring him back and work him back into the team, maybe. That's part of it. I just wanted to throw that in because he is only on loan. He's not, they didn't actually, like, buy him. I don't know how long the loan is for. If it's 6 months till the end of the year, who knows? But he is only on loan. So there's that element of either they're trying to raise his value to sell him or they're trying to work him back into the team, one or the other.
I would also just assume, as you just said there, that similarly for Passion UA, you don't know yet if it's going to work out. Maybe it won't work out speaking English, etc. So you do the loan probably for like a fifth of the fucking cost, and then if it works out well, we do a deal after the major or some jazz like that, I would imagine. So I know what you mean, because that's the thing. What people won't realise is it's only on the Senzu side I have any qualms. Like, if you're Passion UA, mate, you roll that dice all day long if this player can come. I don't care if it even turns out he has scoffed English. You see, we know what, homie, we're gonna do what they should have done with jail on that fucking desk. You don't have to talk that much, mate. We're gonna streamline the fuck out of the game. You're only going to talk in these couple of settings, and aside from that, the game for you really is going to be like, here's your route in the game. You just follow that, and we'll someone else will be watching you back. Someone will throw the flash for you. Don't even worry about that, because again, he's overqualified to be in this team. Like, it's actually kind of nuts JT even gets a chance to play with this guy. So I think that is a massive upside. I think no matter what the comm situation is, you can make that work. It's better than having whoever you had instead previously. And then I wasn't a Halzerg hater, but actually I think if people have never seen the game of Try, I actually think he's an underrated player, mate. I'll tell you the player he reminds me of, in the sense that this person also, similarly from being in big teams before, was fucking FaZe. When FaZe joined Astralis, I was like, that's actually a pretty good signing, actually. I know people are going to see the name and go, he wasn't that good like 4 years ago. It's like, yeah, but in the meantime, if you ever watch these guys at low level, Try's a good player, mate, actually. He was pretty good at that. He was like, used to carry the fuck out of that Imperial team, which was a bit of a scoffed roster with like the 5th best set of Brazilians left in the scene or something. Like, he was pretty good. So I actually kind of like this set of upgrades. I think it's an interesting approach. So I'm actually going to predict, if you look, they're already something like 17th on HLTV. Bro, I don't think this team's going to be like mixing it up to win a tournament, but like pretty soon they could hover right around that like 10, 11, 12 spot, and they could, as a result, you'll be at all the events, you'll get all the invites, you'll have your tournaments where you can make a playoff run, etc. I'm excited because of the JT story, actually. I like this combo, and also, I've just set it up there, I think it's someone who's made more out of lesser pieces. So I also think if you take these pieces, people have their reservations, but I could see this being really good. I'm actually quite excited for it.
Well, and going back to what Maui said earlier, too, about how judging IGLs is essentially just based on who wins more. That's how most people look at it. I'll give everyone that's watching a little hint for when you're watching games and you're watching in-game leaders, you're trying to figure out if an in-game leader style is being implemented properly. Watch how quickly the players react to situations. If there's moments where in a game something happens and everybody kind of freezes and no one's reacting and blah, 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 one thing that you could never say about the JT's complexity teams or the Passion UA, whatever they're on, as soon as something happens on the map, if somebody dies, you immediately see a 2-man push somewhere else. You immediately see a reaction. They're always doing things. Even if they push somewhere else and then they get killed, Sure. Okay. It didn't work, but you could see that everybody was listening. Everybody was immediately reacting to what was going on. And that to me shows a good game plan. People listening to and like an in-game leader that actually has the authority, people listen, and the good coach as well. Cause you got to shout out TC because he's been there the whole time also. They've had that duo working together between him and JT. So maybe it's something with 2-letter names. Maybe, I don't know, but it's something.
Could also be the South African connection, but that
I don't think
maybe is more. That's probably more far fetched than what you're bringing up. Yeah,
I think it's directly name related. I don't think it has anything to do with culture.
Also on the flip side of that, taking that principle of watching how fast the team reacts. I think you look at Aurora and look at when they go into a man deficit situation, how they sit on their hands for about 30 seconds, hoping to play to punish when they're in a 4v5 deficit, and then they realize that no advantage has been gifted to them, and then they lose. As they did absolutely nothing for the round. Okay, I'll move to my good point here. I'll move to my good. Yeah, I wanted to sneak in an extra bad point. Obviously, that's why I did that. But I feel like this is one that goes without saying. I almost felt like it was low hanging fruit, but it needs to be stated and addressed that ZywOo's Krakow was the best tournament I've ever seen him at. It was probably one of the most dominant performances from any superstar of the last, well, I would even say the post-online era. I don't really know how to even really characterize it because he had, statistically above a 2.0 kill-death ratio and also was hard carrying Vitality through maps where finally, after a 2025 that frequently featured so many of the supporting cast who oftentimes helped and sometimes even brought him to the finish line in some of those big games and tournaments. This is one where I felt like ZywOo actually got it done on his own. I mean, some of the map, against Furia, for example, on Inferno, that might be my favorite map of ZywOo ever. I honestly don't know if I've ever seen him go as nuclear as he did on that one, where he was getting entries on T side, where he's finding where he was clutching, where he was a single pillar on defense that just held up entire bomb sites. Every single aspect that made ZywOo great throughout the previous years, I feel like all were encapsulated in 21 rounds of play on Inferno there. It was one of the most entertaining games I've ever seen from Vitality, because obviously so much of their history is tied to ZywOo. But beyond that, I think that he just deserves an immense amount of credit, and coming off of the back of a 2025 where I'll still hold the point. Donk was the better player in that year. Donk was the better overall player, and I'm not backing down from that statement whatsoever. But this is an incredible start to a campaign to make it actually with less debate that he is indeed the world's best.
Yeah, I mean that Krakow was a pretty incredible performance, to say the least. I mean, that was going back to 2021 simple. It felt like that, and seeing that level of dominance from an Opper. I mean, that's the thing, and I totally agree with you. Donk, for me, Donk is clear. I know people like to say it's really close. Obviously, ZywOo won, so most people must think it's close. But for me, Donk is a freak of nature that I've never seen anything like before in my entire life. But ZywOo is very, very, very clearly a really intelligent player. That's one thing I notice a lot when watching him. Is sure, his mechanics are all really good. Obviously, he's good at shooting the gun, but his rotation timings are perfect. And that's where he's able to get those high KD games also, because he doesn't die. He doesn't die unnecessarily. How often do you catch ZywOo off? When was the last time you remember seeing ZywOo get caught off guard by a play somewhere? It doesn't happen. Sure, sometimes he gets one-tapped like anyone, but he's never caught off guard or surprised by what's in front of him. And for me, that's the most impressive thing about him, is that he seems to have this mental map of what's going on across the map at all times, and he's just never caught off guard by something, and that's super impressive.
No, I have to say, what's funny is this is a perfect example of where when ZywOo fans think we must just hate ZywOo or we're biased because we don't say he's the best, you do realise if he played this way, we'd all just agree he's probably the GOAT, mate. Yeah, this player would be the GOAT. If that's the joke is he's doing all the things there I used to prefer Simple over him for. He's taking all the early duels, he's taking the AWP every time he needs to on CT side. By the way, here's the stat everyone loves about Molodoi, which is why Molodoi ended up being overrated, sadly, and everyone said he was better than Monacy, is Molodoi bizarrely in all the these big finals was always out AWPing the other AWPer, right? ZywOo absolutely stuffed him in a fucking locker. If you don't know, guys, he went like 19-5 against him or something crazy. Like, but that's because that isn't even Molodai's fault. No one could have stopped ZywOo on that day, seriously. Like, he was just absolutely on one. And that's why ZywOo's also one of the players for me where his stats can look unbelievable, but there's a reason why people, look, I will never agree that he is boring, but he just does, like Davey's saying, he's just always in the right place. Well, the problem with being in the right place is not as exciting, isn't it? You're not doing some crazy push, which a Simple or a Donk would do, where you're like, well, that shouldn't work. Fuck, you got 2K. Well, that doesn't make sense. So you must be the best. Like, that's why those players have an extra, like, impact value. Mate, in this final, there was no complaints at all for me. It was mega. I was even watch party in this final. I remember thinking, this is just fucking sick, mate. And also, he's doing it round after round after round. It wasn't like he had one cool round. Like, at the end of the series, if people don't remember, he was just like, I think he like double 4K'd them end the fucking series or something, like, and win the champ. They couldn't do shit against this guy. He was like absolutely untouchable. So this is what, in fact, I even think it reminded me more, edgy take, but no one else ever talks about it. Even though you're supposed to believe with ZywOo, you get better every year. I actually think his 2019 first year was better than some of the last years. Like, I actually do think he's someone who got a lot of the pressure of he's supposed to win, and people had that thing where he hadn't won a major series for ages in the playoffs. I think some of that did weigh on him and get to him a little bit, and he's had some dodgy get. I think the ZywOo that first came in that first year was so nuts because he actually looked more like this. He was mega decisive. He never looked like he second guessed himself or did this shit that he does now, like, oh, should I be on the rifle? He just fucking got the AWP every time it was available, mate, because he's the best player, so why wouldn't he do that? So I thought it was mega. It was just all around a fucking mega tournament performance. It basically was a one-man army.
He really was at points in that. And I think going into what you're talking about in 2019, I think the difference there is there was like the direct head-to-head, him and Simple.
Sure.
And Simple plays this way, and you play this way, and you want to beat him, you have to do some of the things he does, right? Like that. I think there was an element of that where he was like getting pushed to the max of his game. Simple being out of the game for the last 2 years, I feel like it hasn't, like you said, it hasn't definitely, because I was not like gotten worse or anything, but I think that 2019 really pushed them to be at their ceiling for the whole year, right? Like the whole time they had to be at their ceiling or the other person was going to be better than them. And even though ZywOo is, I genuinely think he's probably a super nice guy. And he did the thing at the HLTV Awards fucking acceptance speech, which I hate. Like he started off good, like, sorry, Dunk, you don't get to win this one. And it was like, yes, now he's good, give it to him. And then, but hopefully you'll have it next year. It's like, what? Shut up. No, don't say that shit. What are you doing? No, that was almost good. You were like this close. You were like this. It's like he said it. And then he like, it's like when you make like a big purchase and you're like sweating at night, like, oh no, I should probably just return that. Do I really need it? Do I really need the $1,000 coffee machine? No, I don't. That's what it felt like. And it was like, bro, just say, like, bro, yeah, you won. Congrats. Take it. Be like, yeah, sorry, Donk, not this year, buddy. Like, good. That's how you should be. That's how it should fucking be. So I like that he was almost there. So maybe we might get to see that ZywOo come out. That actually.
Well, I want him to go the other way. I want him to go so deep into the rage bit that I want him to be like, on some like Palpatine shit, like, you see this, Donk? You want it, don't you? Reach for it. Like, fucking, I want him to actually, like, because you want it almost be like, right, come on then, Donk, you have to try and win it next year.
Exactly.
Yeah,
that's
great.
what I want. Like this Krakow performance for me is him being like, oh, everyone thinks Donk was better than me? All right. We'll see, like that's what I want. That's what I want from ZywOo is that mentality.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's what it was. I know that there's players throughout the history of sports that have that mentality. Some people don't need it. Some people are like, okay, so I won number one, and everyone's saying that this guy should have won number one. Well, I'm gonna no questions this year then. Yes. And if he does this for the whole year, that's fucking incredible.
No, I thought it was wanted. Yeah, go on.
The whole I mean, it's become kind of a meme at this point that people call him Humble Woo instead, and that's kind of how they characterize him. But I feel like we get in these little just snippets here and there about how there is some ego, but it just feels like he's almost not willing to share it in English, if I'm being real. Like, there was the interview with Croissant Strike, and I watched it back actually with auto-translate subtitles, but I also saw what someone did a write-up on Reddit regarding it, and that they said that he was actually disappointed in HLTV for not awarding him number 2 over Monacy. And that kind of stuff is the little bits of ego that we get. We just get it in little crumbs here and there. And also we heard this kind of story through the grapevine, which has now become public knowledge, that Apex said that when he didn't win number 1 or 2, that lit a fire underneath him because he wanted to reclaim that spot there after 2024 happened and Donk and Monacy were above him. and that's kind of it. But it just feels like for whatever reason in English only interviews, you just kind of get the same guy that was almost there in 2019 at the Face It Major to Freya that was like, no, don't want to do the, it's just like he's just so gun shy in those ways. But I think it's almost just. It's almost just like if I almost feel like if his English was a little bit more comfortable, you would get a little bit more of it, because apparently it comes out in private or in a French interview, but it's never actually on an English broadcast does he say that he wants that number one spot. Which is kind of frustrating when trying to create bigger storylines regarding him. But that's obviously a small aside to what is us, or I'm trying to just celebrate his greatness here, really.
Yeah. Okay, I will move then. I will do my good point. And my good point is quite a simple one. When people complain about the state of CS, I think what they usually mean is, like, for example, I think people last year complained because no one else won events except Vitality. Like, basically, if Vitality attended an event, it was a big event, they won, so it made it feel boring. So I think what people hated was that Falcons was good but couldn't beat them, and Mouse never beat them, and it's just like everyone looked like they just took the L, and Donk would play awesome, but he couldn't win the game, right? But I think one thing we have to do when you look at the scene is you have to look at, like, the different segments of the scene. So yeah, you have the contenders. How strong are they? That is important because it's going to affect, like, how epic is it to be number one, etc. People know the idea of, like, the old RMR thinking of, like, what about, like, team number 30 in the world? Would they have a chance on LAN against anyone good? People know they've leveled up. I think the area where people have missed, this is why I picked it as my good, is, bro, I think we might have the best set of, like, gatekeeper teams we've ever had in Counter-Strike. Because I was looking at it today, right? First of all, if anyone's watched the recent tournaments, that's one reason I'm loving the arrival of this team, fucking the one that used to be Navi Junior, the fuck guys. Mate, they are just giving the business to, like, Furia and a bunch of other top teams every time out. Like, yeah, they're not going to win all the games that many times because they're not actually a better team, but fucking hell. Obviously, this is why I never went that crazy over Blast Bounty. The good thing about Paravision is the same thing. They're not going to win the events, bros. That was a miracle that won that one. But I tell you what, as you see here, there are going to be some fucking good teams on paper, like a G2 or something. You're going to have a hard time with them, mate. You're not going to like Mr. James' Wild Ride. That's going to be bad for you. Put out some. I even think the new Astralis looks half decent. Like, a lot of these teams on their own, they're never going to be world beaters. Not going to be in a final. They're going to make a deep major run. But what I like is that, like, these teams all have a defined style. They have, like, good players in their rosters. And the key thing for me is, if you're one of those teams at the bottom of the top 10, you have to watch out when you see this team come up in the fucking draw next, mate. You can't just go like you used to before. Like, oh, what is this team? Like 15th? We'll beat them easily, and then just don't even watch the demo. Like, these teams will catch you, mate. If you slip at all, they're waiting for you. So I think, what do you think, Davey? I think we've got some of the best in the scene to even watch.
I think it goes even higher up than that too. Totally agree with you, but I think, like, Vitality is sort of kind of clearly in a league of their own, and then there's, like, Furia, Falcons, Mouse, Spirit in their own next group, gatekeeping the people below them, and then you've got your Paravision, FaZe, Navi, G2, Mongols are all sort of in their own thing, and each one of those, like, groups is like at any given time, anyone from Furia to Spirit could be ranked number 2 or number 3 or number 4.
Yes.
Like, you wouldn't know. Like, you
True.
wouldn't be able to just guess Furia is the number 2 team in the world. Sure, right now they are, but like, let's just say Falcons win tomorrow and then all of a sudden they're number 2 now, right? Like, it could be, that can go either way. And so I think in general, yeah, the level is really high. Like, the level, I mean, that's what happens though. That is what happens. The same thing happened with Prime Astralis. When you have a team that's that dominant for a while, the problem is nobody can beat them, right? Until somebody can. And in the process of until somebody can, every team below them is trying to figure out a way to be better, to beat them. So that just raises the ceiling of, like, everyone, because you have to. Like, if you're on Spirit, for example, right now, first of all, I hate you because you're wasting donk, but still, second, and you're annoying. But regardless of any of that, if you're on Spirit right now,
that's
your
not
whole
targeted
thing
towards
is,
anybody, for sure. Like,
no, not targeted. Actually, you know, it's targeted towards all of them. They're so fucking annoying. I hate it, but whatever. I don't care. The point is, if you're a Spirit right now, you need to be finding a way to use donk to beat Vitality, right? And once they can get to that point, then maybe Vitality loses their confidence a little bit, and then everyone is, like, at a really high level. And I think having a team like Vitality being this dominant raises everybody up, because it has to. Everybody has to get better, and they're defining the meta right now. So everyone else is learning how to play like them, and I think that just is the same thing happened with Prime Astralis, and if it's anything to go by the end of this year, we should have a lot of teams potentially fighting for those titles.
I feel like this is kind of I guess the culmination of so many times on this show we've had for the past, I would say 2, maybe 3 years. Maybe there was a little bit of a lull actually in 2023 when it was the CS:GO to CS2 port, but prior to that, and then since then, the praising of tier 2 CS. And I think now we've kind of reached this point where the teams that are in the maybe 7th to 15th range. Well, actually, Liquid is technically 15th, 7th to 14th range. They all seem extremely competitive, and they've proven to be teams that can win titles. I mean, literally, G2 did it. I feel like Foot is now really kind of showing what their worth is compared to the actual tier 1 or S tier team or A+ tier teams, whatever you want to mark them as. There's still a couple stragglers that probably need a little bit more of a correction, but it's taking time, like say 3D Max, I'd say Aurora are kind of falling down the pecking order for me a little bit. But yeah, in general, as gatekeepers, and I like that phrasing because I don't really expect Aurora to lose to any team that's outside of the top 15. You know, they're extremely stable, even if they have their flaws at that level. And the actual elite teams, the top 4, which unsurprisingly, Vitality, Furia, Falcons, Mouse, all of them, to me, clearly the top 4 teams all become the 2-0 teams in a Swiss BO3 only group stage. It's just yeah, good formats get the best teams in the right positions to do well. That's kind of what we're aiming for, and why we don't want to have BO1s in these kinds of tournaments. I just feel like in general, the average level of CS among teams that are at S tier events is very high, and it would totally put to shame. Yeah, the peak of teams in 2018-19 maybe gets underrated at times. Like Prime Astralis might even be weirdly underrated today because of people mostly that didn't watch. But if you look at if I took the teams that were ranked 7th to 14th in 2018 versus the teams today, I think they're going to smoke them. I think they're way more comprehensively deep in terms of just player quality, tactics, reactions. They understand how they need to play out rounds start to finish. So Counter-Strike is so exciting right now, even when I'm watching a 1-1 Swiss stage game, because I just know that these teams all have reasons that they're even at this level today.
Okay, well, this message is sponsored by Raycon. Now, obviously, Raycon with the everyday classic earbuds. They also have the new ones, the essential open earbuds, which are the ones that have like a special open ear design. They sit just outside the edge of your ear canal, so they're not stuck inside. So whereas on the other ones, they have the awareness mode if you want to hear like ambient sound. This one just, it isn't inside your ear, basically. So actually sound comes in easy. I like these ones, by the way, for when you do things like if you're cooking and someone's going to come in behind you or something, you don't get like, you don't do that shit. Which listen, even though I'm all manly on shows, I'm really bad for doing shit like that. When someone fucking wakes me, I'm really like sleeper, etc. So I like doing that when you're off, you're about to cross over the road. Before you quickly look, you don't get hit by that bike coming straight like a fucking linebacker to the side of your head if you're an old school wide receiver, but when they used to have defense in the NFL. I like it for that purpose. Also, it has on the actual set design now, it has what's called like a multi-angular hook that basically just means no matter what type of ear you have, it will fit nice and neatly there. It's not like you have to hope it just fits that size and then tweak with the little plastic thing. So it's actually super easy to use. Also, as usual, it's got mega battery life. It has like 8 hours just playtime normally. Then if you have the case as well, you get like 36 hours. So basically you can go in, you don't even have to charge it each day and you'll still be good. So if you're ever traveling, if you're ever away for work or something, it's not a nightmare if you can't find a socket somewhere or something to charge. It's not that thing where you just get the few hours and then you're going to run out on your flight. As long as you have the case with you, you'll be all good if you're commuting. So obviously you want to save some money. So go to buyraycon.com/snakeopen, all one word, to get 15% off. So check out the essential open earbuds. They're the ones with this new design, and also they have multi-point connection. They connect to multiple devices with seamlessly move between them. Shout out to Raycon, buyraycon.com/snakeopen. Okay, we will now go to the last section of the show, which is obviously the bad. So Davey, what is bad right now?
Yeah, so I got to preempt this a little bit a couple minutes ago. Spirit is bad right now, and they're top 5, they're 5th, sure, but every interview they do, they just become more and more unlikable. I actually sent Sponge a message after they did that like round table at Krakow or whatever, and there was Zontics and Magics. And I'm like, oh my God. Like what a patient human Sponge has been throughout this interview, just trying to get you to participate. Like just be there. Like what do you not have conversations with your friends? Have you ever spoken to your family members? Like why are you so is it because you suck at English? Get better at English. Pick somebody else to do the interviews. I don't understand. Their English was fine. They understood everything. They were like it was just I couldn't believe how they don't understand that part of your job is this. Like, this is part of your job. Like, Zontix, oh, I'm this, like, stoic king, man. I'm just, like, this stoic king, bro. Like, oh, my God, he drives me nuts. I can't, like, it's so transparent, and it just is so frustrating. And that, for whatever reason, they've all, like, decided that's, like, cool now. So it's not just him doing it. They all, like, Magix does it now, too. He's also all, like, one-word answer. One-word this. So, do you like this? No. Thanks, man. Like, great, awesome. Thanks for being here. So that's just outside of the server. On top of the fact that in the server, nobody is helping Donk participate like at all. Like a Donk was playing, had to play with a wired mouse. Do any of them even have their mouse plugged in? Like, what is anybody else besides Shiro gonna fucking participate? It's literally 2v5. It's like if you had Duncan Shiro in a pug with that level of play, of that level of carry, they'd be talking shit to their 3 teammates the whole time about, oh my God, can you guys like just throw a flash for me at least? Like, how do you miss that smoke? Like, you can't even throw a smoke? You can't shoot them or throw a smoke? I would be so infuriated, and you can see Donk, it's weighing on him. Like, he's like reacting at tournaments now like, oh, I don't know what else, like the game's done, and he just goes like, I can't even be mad anymore. I don't know what to do. And he can't, like, they have the best player I have ever seen play a version of Counter-Strike. And I am a Neo fanboy for years and years and years. Like, and I'm like, dude, Donk is a whole nother level, and they are wasting it. They're absolutely wasting it. They should be toe to toe with Vitality every single tournament with the 2 best players in the world. It should be the Messi, Ronaldo, the simple ZywOo. It should be that again, and they're too shit to do it. And it's so frustrating. And anyways, that's my bad. I probably should have made that ugly and the map pool thing bad because I'm more passionate about this one, but that's fine.
It's all good.
No, I think the categories are fitting. The Spirit conversation is one that I'll even just take it to the Donk v ZywOo thing. It's becoming a little bit too one-sided. One, because ZywOo's been exceptionally good, but 2, so far this year, I'm just not really seeing Donk even in enough high pressure moments that even could merit his inclusion in the conversation right now. And you know, the eye test and even just looking at his skill is you could take it and you can transfer your values of what he's doing in that, and then try to imagine him in those kind of circumstances. But ZywOo has, even if he doesn't, and thankfully in Krakow he did perform well, even if he doesn't, he practically has a red carpet rolled out to him to minimum semifinals, if not grand finals, where then he can impress everybody as he frequently does, and then continue and further his campaign as the world #1. Whereas Donk, on the other hand, is kind of just dragging a handful of lifeless corpses along with him as he's just backpacking them as he's trying.
Annoying lifeless corpses that keep getting caught on things and being difficult to.
We should include the annoying aspect of it. You know, it's like if Sisyphus's boulder just kind of had a bitchy mouth, just kind of kept saying,
talking shit the whole time.
Just kind of said one-liners to him all the time for no reason. It'd be kind of incessant, wouldn't it? I mean, I personally have found some humor in what Magix does. I personally haven't also, though, seen what you're referencing in the Zontix Magix round table, what have you. But
you can watch 5 minutes of it, you'll get the idea. It doesn't change throughout the whole thing.
That's unfortunate because I sometimes I've caught Magic's interviews where the questions are a little bit more open-ended and he does participate a bit better, but it seems like a day-to-day thing where his mood is just not into any sort of media obligations. And yeah, that can be frustrating, especially from a guy that is now taking up the IGL role and being as terse as he has been with broadcast or media talent. It just kind of drives you up the wall because you want to build reasons as to why these players and teams can be likable. But if they just if they just send it and don't really, or phone it in, that is, then There's not just nothing to build off. There's literally nothing to build off of unless you're winning tournaments. And if you're not winning tournaments, then there's just no compelling argument for anybody on the team to be likable, except for the guy that is just putting up godly numbers every single game.
By the way, one thing, I agree in general about the whole Spirit thing, because unfortunately, like you said at the end there, Davey, you can't actually look at this like a normal team. In fact, I'll even give the comparison to ZywOo's old Vitalities, the ones where it had scoffed players. If you were the org Vitality, or you're the org Spirit, you're doing a great job. You've got one of the absolute best players, and you're always competitive, and you're in the mix to be top 5 and win the odd event. Actually, you're sort of min-maxing like a motherfucker. You're doing great, like, sports fucking GMing at that point. The problem is, though, if you look from the perspective of the player, and the player already is ready to win everything, at that point in time, there's a different perspective if you think of the player, which is you've got to catch this window while they can win everything. Like, while you've got basically, I agree, Dave, like the best player ever, if you don't stack trophies now, when then? Like, what, you going to let him come off his game in 2 years? Or is it something going to counter him in the match? Or are you going to fucking run out of players to start? Like, this is where you've got to, like, put your foot on the metal, mate, and just absolutely ride it out and go hell for leather, because that's my problem is when you see how good he is, you have to be number one. There's just no excuse. The one piece is too good. You see it in sports sometimes. So I do think it's a bomber. Also, by the way, on the whole personality thing, bro, Duncan can be included in this as well. I think they have quite literally got this whole thing backwards. Because here's what they all do. In interviews, they're all shit and vanilla, including Donk, by the way. Like, when Donk doesn't win number one, he'll just say some bullshit in public in English, like, oh, I don't really mind anyway, and yeah, that's fine. And then he'll go on to his Telegram and give them the mega spicy answer. It's like, you idiot, you got the wrong way round. Say the spicy thing on the broadcast in the interview, then go in your Telegram and go, but you know what, ZywOo is really good, actually, fans of mine, and I do think he deserves it. But sell the media part, mate. Sell us the angle of, like, the really cool thing, because I'm so bored of that, like into his DM, I destroy everyone in it. But say that on the fucking mic, you idiot. That was the line. That would have been the soundbite. That would have literally generated 6 months worth of analyst desk topics that everyone would reference the whole time, and everyone would know this is like a real rivalry, which is what everyone wants. So there's that. And then lastly, the other reason why I'm a bit frustrated at Spirit, I still think the squad is like has good enough players and they can still fuck around and have a chance to be number 2 or whatever. But the real bummer for me is this. It plays into what I think is the worst fan take of all time. So they hear that, like, right, here's how it works, fans. You know, they hear, oh, everyone in Spirit plays for Donk. That's because some of the players in Spirit aren't excellent players in their own right. There's this myth that goes like this. Everyone in Spirit plays for Donk. So what that actually means is Donk's either not actually as good as he seems, or even worse, he's like draining the powers of the teammates. Meanwhile, ZywOo gets no resources, complete myth sponge. I don't know where the fuck you got that from, homie. This guy chills in the mid-round so much on the T side, it's unbelievable, mate. That's a resource. Being given time and space and not having to go and throw a flash for somebody is a resource, homie. That's literally something you're taking from outside. This myth that ZywOo takes no space and no resources, and that as a result, he's like giving his resources to his teammates, and that's why his teammates carry. Bullshit. Do you know why I know? Because I watched all of ZywOo's career. So you know when he had Masuta and Kyojin, there's no amount of resources he could have given them that would have made them carry in the game. Same with Donk now, right? Do you ever watch a Spirit game and go, oh, the reason why, Davey, it's just 2v5 is because Donk didn't give enough resources to Zontic? Shut the fuck up. No one's ever said that ever in their entire life. Zontics wouldn't even dream that thought because it's nonsense. Meanwhile, on the other side, if all this is just because he's being set up, then fuck it. ZywOo rifles. Set ZywOo up this way. He'll probably carry all the matches. Oh, he won't, will he? Because this is already ZywOo's in his best spot. We don't even know, by the way, what Doc's best spot is. Lastly, I'll throw this out there. In the early days, when people used to tell me ZywOo had no help, I just go back. He had Alex as his IGL. People don't know. A lot of people thought he was a mega IGL. That's the reason why he got sound to that Clyde super team. He could have continued in Vitality. They would have kept him, by the way. Then Apex. A lot of people now say Apex is like a GOAT contender. Donk is working with Chopper and Magix. Like, what are we talking about here? Like, if you were a ZywOo fan and you'd have said to me back in the day, like, he doesn't have any help, I'd go, yeah, but his IGL. Well, you look at his IGL and think, oh, great IGL, doing an awesome job. Do you fuck? No one even knows if he's had a good IGL yet. So I know what you mean. The whole topic just annoys me because I feel like people have such strong takes on this squad. Whereas to me, the weird thing about the Spirit squad the whole time is it's always a little bit scuffed. It's never really felt like a super comfortable machine where everything worked really well. And they're always like min-maxing the fuck out of aspects and they're just trying to Donk really just have to carry half the game. So I'm with you. I think it's nonsense, mate. I don't even mind it as bad. Yeah, that is bad. In the context of how good Donk is now, they're still not good enough.
Well, and the whole take is fucking stupid to begin with, and like Duncan does well because the teams give him way more resources. What the fuck are you talking about? You say what even is the implication there? That Donk is the best player in the world because anytime he shoots someone, they're blind. Are you fucked? Like, are you not like are these people that are saying this not watching the game? Like, sure, he's getting resources in the sense of they're saying, okay, Donk, go kill. We're gonna smoke off this one thing and throw this flash for you, and then he runs through a smoke and bangs two people's heads off. Maybe the first guy's blind, the second guy should be the trade, but he's so good that he gets them both. And he attempts. I'm looking at it right now. This year on this team, 33% of his team's opening duels are attempted by Donk, one of the highest numbers in World Counter-Strike, if not the highest, with a 60% success rate. And that's low. 60% success rate is low for him. Like that, this is you've never seen somebody like this. There's never been a player like this. And that's why I'm saying you need to, and as good as he is, there is always the chance that it ends. Something happens. He stops being as good as he is. No, at what point did people think that Nico was no longer going to be the best rifler in the world? All of a sudden, it just happens. Cold Zera, best player in the world 2 years in a row. Then I think he barely cracked the top 20 and then fell out of it the next year. It just happens. These players that are at one point the best, at some point they're not anymore. Now, admittedly, Donk's really young, and it's probably not going to happen to him for a while. But you just never know what's going to happen, and you need to take advantage of it when you can. And this, I mean, bringing in Tanir, actually, I don't actually hate that. I think he's got a decently high skill ceiling, but give this man an in-game leader. I don't know, but then at the same time, who is it? Who's the Russian in-game leader right now that's going to come in and save that team? Right? I have no idea. So. Anyways, yeah, I can talk about this forever, so you guys just tell me to shut up. Otherwise, I'll just keep going. I can go forever. So.
By the way, it's also just mad embarrassing when the fan does it. This team's playing for him. What that made him get the most impossible second kill of all time that no other player could ever get. What are you talking about, you daft fuck? And that would be like saying,
in case you could put me there. I can do that. I can run out there and kill all the blind people if that's how easy it is. Like, what the fuck?
By the way, I'll even give you the analogy. This is like when they used to actually do my boy Ronaldo mad dirty. Because what they used to say is, you know, at the end of his career, he just basically played as a striker, Davey. They used to just go, all he does is poach. I'd be like, he's scored worldies in the top corner, you mad fuck. Like, there's no pass in the world makes that easy. You still have to be goated to do that. It's impossible.
Yeah, well, and there's how many poachers are there on mid-level Prem teams that get 10 goals a season and they go, it's actually a really good season. 10 goals, he's a really classy goal scorer.
Yeah.
Like, idiots. The whole that he only does it because he's getting resources thing is retarded. He's entry fragging, not like opener. Okay, like there's the opener stat, which is essentially a CT sided stat padding stat. Okay, no, he's doing it on T side. Like nobody else does this. Go look up all your favorite entry fraggers. Go look up their T side entry stats. The highest will probably be Yakindar around 28-29% attempts with about a anywhere around 50% success rate, which is really good. Which is a really good entry fragger. Look what Donk is doing. It's inhuman. Like, it's so ridiculous. But that's why so many people feel like he should have been number one last year because of the role he's playing and how he's playing it.
Also, the joke is all the ZywOo fans who for years claimed if you didn't think ZywOo was there, you just downplayed him. You actually downplayed Donk for fuck's sake. Like, what a whack bomb you are, bro. All we ever said was we just thought ZywOo was second and the other guy was better. You actually make Donk sound like he's carried for fuck's sake, even though, by the way, he's probably the greatest individual carry to ever play Team Counter-Strike. What are we even talking about?
Best I've ever seen.
It's mad, isn't it?
I feel like, I mean, the conversation just gets so muddied so easily by fans because they just take some very narrow aspect of ZywOo's game and then they just kind of blow it out of proportion to try to give him credit. But it's usually just boils down to team success. And I just feel like I think if I just kind of go to my like foundational what makes a player good, and when I was playing CS, what kind of numbers would I look at to just say at the end of the game, oh, did I do well? Did I do badly? Oh yeah, that guy was really doing well. That guy was doing badly. I think there's a handful of stats you could really point to, and if you just want a simple one, I think just the damage that Donk has per round is just something we have never ever seen in Counter-Strike for the last decade. You just look through HLTV through every single year, no one even gets above 90. No one ever gets above 90. Donk does it every single time. His kills per round are higher than really anybody has ever been, also in these sort of years too. It's just okay, if I'm not valuing kills per round, what am I valuing? If I'm not valuing damage per round, what am I valuing? Then at that point, we're just kind of saying that the tournament placement is better. You know, I mean, I made my good point on this that ZywOo had his best tournament ever, and so even by invoking his name in a competition with Donk, there's going to be some people out there that just suddenly be like, look at them, they talked about Donk, so they must hate ZywOo. But it's just that the blind faith for ZywOo, it almost is just it's borderline religious zealotry. It's just the way that people just fan for ZywOo through these things. It's just through zero critical lens whatsoever, and it's just always just like anybody that's even trying to bring any topic to the table regarding this about why ZywOo is better than Donk, either then they'll invoke intangibles or team success so frequently, which are just they're not really what things that I can perceptively value in a competition for the best player in the world. It's just not. It just does. They're just not factors for me. So I don't really. It's always it's always just a muddied argument, and it gets really messy. And I always just feel like the way that it's approached by so many fans, I mean, for lack of a better word, it's unintelligent. It's just completely unintelligent.
By the way, it's also a sign you have a bad eye test, by the way, because I actually think, and I never even said this for Simple, by the way, I think Donk is the most blameless player I've ever seen lose games, mate. Like, the amount of games I've ever seen him actually lose, where I was like, yeah, he should have played better. It's like, I could count on one hand, probably. It's insane, mate. I've never seen a player with this flaw either. It's so bonkers.
Well, in terms of the ZywOo fandom, you're American, but me and Duncan are British, so culturally we're allowed to simply blame the French and say that they're just awful. Obviously, you can't as much, but I mean, like
you wouldn't have a country if it wasn't for them. Exactly.
We have a God-given right.
Yeah.
To say that it's the French's fault.
Exactly.
And so we're actually allowed to do that. So yeah. I'm fully down to blame them for ruining the discourse on this one.
Yeah. I think the truth is that most of the people that write these kinds of comments that are ZywOo fans are actually at ages where I shouldn't even be interacting with those people.
that might be true.
Okay, Maui, what is your bad point?
Yeah, my bad point is pretty simple. I kind of was considering bringing up a hot take regarding this one, but I think that doing so would kind of also devalue what's really just going on, which is that FaZe is a mess. Okay, FaZe is simply a mess. I was kind of spitballing ideas for what kind of changes they can make and everything, and I wouldn't really pull the trigger on this one yet because my overall opinion of them is that they are clearly a team that lacks any of the resolve in high pressure moments that they did when they had Rain. Obviously, the major is the clear exception to this, and that's why it can feel like almost an unnecessary discussion because we're only 2 months removed from what happened at Budapest, where they went on the miracle run. But I feel like the key word there is miracle, not the run. It's just that was not expected by anybody. I don't think anybody expects anything similar to happen to this season for them in that regard. And I think that FaZe now are reeling from the fact that they made a bit of a hasty signing, feeling like they needed to shake things up. They went for a Jacob that was unready for Tier 1 that, you know, I don't know. It was also really weird, actually, the wording regarding the pickup from Jacob. Like, I almost feel like they kind of wanted to say this is some like nebulous force that made the decision on Jacob, when it's like, guys, we do know that that Kerrigan's wife was working with Apogee. Like, we know that. We know that happened. We know that was happening. And so I don't really think that there's some like mysterious scouting, you know, GM for FaZe that decided actually he went through all of the hard data and has some wild spreadsheet that actually picked Jacob, you know, agnostic of that fact. I think we can all just admit that was really what happened there. And they just look like they're left without a paddle. I mean, I don't think that they just simply don't look really competitive versus any of the other teams that I consider elite. They took a map off of Falcons on the day of us recording this. That was a little bit strange, I won't lie, but I just feel like you have a couple pieces here. Like Frozen and Twist are fantastic. I think they are elite players. Like they should be vying for top 20 placements this year on their own. I think Kerrigan might have something to it, but I just feel like this team is probably 2, potentially even 3 roster moves away from being an elite team. You keep Frozen and Twist, and I think that even though I didn't want to make a hot take regarding this, I'm not saying to do this today, but I think this is an option to explore in the future. I think that Twist stepping away from the IGL role after his time with Liquid, probably has time to rethink what he was doing in that spot. And what I do know is that he was fragging really damn well, and in fact was arguably their best player while he was in IGL. And I don't think that his T-side calling was fantastic, but I think that having some time away from it, he can make it a little, refine it just enough. But what I do know is that he was a great fragger. Frozen's a great fragger, but I don't know if any of the other three guys, including sometimes what Neo's doing, are pulling their weight. So I would be open to any options that's involving anybody but Frozen and Twist remaining on the team.
First of all, I am the delusional fan on this one. No bad talk about Neo. Okay, he's perfect in every way, and it will remain that way until the day I die. All right, that's number one. I do actually think, unfortunately for this FaZe team, that Brokey once again just continues to be an issue, and they knew that by removing him originally, and then they had to bring him back, and it's like, okay, maybe you guys, maybe you should have just gone with Simple there, huh? Like I don't know about the personality part of it, but. I don't actually hate Jacob as a player. I really don't. I think he's in kind of a tough spot. Everyone keeps talking about him, rightfully so. Like, yeah, he's just sort of a stopgap. We don't really know why he's here. He's not really like a FaZe player, you know? Like, he's not that stereotypical, like, big name signing that FaZe always goes for. But realistically, yeah, I think they look like a mess when they're playing. They don't look organized. That's number one, which is odd for a Kerrigan team to begin with. Maybe losing Rain was a bigger piece. I mean, people obviously, I think, rated Rain highly. I think he was well rated. People did know that he was a solid player to have on a team, but they don't look great. And I think, I don't know who they can get, but what's funny is if you look at the team on paper, even leaving Jacob in, if you were to swap out Brokey right now and even bring in like a Torji, you automatically feel like they're going to be better, even with that. And now, of course, if you could hypothetically, if they could take a Molodoy from Furia or a Menezi from Falcons, I'm not saying this is ever going to happen, but theoretically, if you put that roster on paper, bang, they're immediately contenders to win tournaments. Like it's that simple. And I know it's kind of rough on Brokey, but his floor is so low. Like when he has a bad game, he really fucking stinks up the place. And I think that part of their messiness is I just don't think they're very confident.
One of the problems you have in this team is I think not only did you see, I agree with Maui, that wasn't even the ceiling of the major. That was some miracle fantasy world where everything went well and they still got completely destroyed in the final with zero chance to win. And you look at this is the biggest problem I have with that. Normally in a miracle run, the whole tournament's the miracle. They were barely alive in the first stage against the shitter teams. They almost got miracle eliminated from the major by complete bombs, who, by the way, didn't then go on to be really awesome. That was like Red Kennedys and Fluxor. Those teams were trash even at the time. So what's weird is if even their miracle run contains some of the worst play the FaZe Orgs probably ever had in CS, it's not really a good sign, is it? And spoiler, we've now seen at these other tournaments, they just haven't done any of the stuff they did in that miracle run. That's gone. Whatever that was really was some Cinderella shit, and it all just turned back into a pumpkin and a fucking bunch of mice. It's over in it. It was happening again. So that's the worst part about them keeping this roster. Because, bro, you had to be beyond delusional to think this was going to work. I'll tell you one thing that I think is a massive red flag that these guys just thought was fine. Here's why that whole Donks just set up thing doesn't work. Because, bro, actually you can rely that Donk will drop a 25 bomb in every single map. Here's what's nuts. I made this point on this show at the beginning of the major last year, which was one of the sleeper parts of FaZe when Twists rejoined FaZe. Was when he rejoined and they were initially working in. Remember, they had that one EPL where they had to play in Rain instead of Jacob because of eligibility. Then they were doing some scuffed results at LANs. And they went to, what people missed was Twists was giga carrying them. He was going so fucking nuts in his first 2 or 3 LANs that if you ever saw at the end of last year, his stats were he was top 5 in the entire world for rating. He was unbelievable. But the problem with that is he isn't Donk, mate. He isn't ZywOo. He's not even Monacy. The idea he could just go, right, I'm going to bank that, right? Can I just have Twists be a top 5 player, not even rifle guy, top 5 player in the world? Yeah, I'll put that, that's safe. Just put that up there. Oh, now I've got to work on the rest of it. You can't just rely on that. By the way, that's gone. Now he's just back to being a good player. He's not smurfed this year. He's had his issues. By the way, that one match where he didn't have his config set up, that can't be it, bro. I've seen the other matches too. It just hasn't looked as good. And he's just not Donk. He's not going to do that. So what you've got in this team right now is you've got one reliable player, which is Frozen. That's it. Kerrigan, right, as an IGL's really great, but he's notoriously shit at the game. So already you're going to need something to make up for that. And also, part of Carrigan's power is the whole, we're in the playoffs and I'm going to do like crazy calls and stuff. That doesn't work in a group stage game. In a group stage game, what happens is, it is just like people chilling. There's no pressure generally. And all these other teams, as you see now, they're fucking giving FaZe the work bit. I mean, they won that game against Falcons barely. That was the only one that was like a super knife-edge game. They barely won that game. You look at the rest of the team, Brokey is just bad, bro. He just is. Like, he's so done. I even suspect, because this interview on HLTV with the Passion UA guy says that they were like competing with 3 other top 10 teams for try. I think they might have been in the fucking hunt for the try guy, mate. And I wouldn't surprise me. At this point, you try almost anyone, wouldn't you? That's why it's actually appropriate. And then on the Jacob one, I'll update what I said on a past one. Right, with this exact 5-man lineup, he has now played 56 LAN maps. And he has now been in FaZe for 70 maps on LAN, by the way, guys. So this isn't like I'm doing the thing where it's like, oh, you're being a bit harsh. I'm not judging him a month in. 70 maps, by the way, even just with this lineup, 56 maps. Like, that's a lot of LAN play. And I'm sorry, here's my problem. He's not a total bomb. I'm with you, Davey. Like, if you ever watch his game, he clearly can aim. But I've got a prediction for you. When he gets removed from FaZe in the future, or he just becomes irrelevant and does an interview, here's what I think you're going to find out. It's going to be ZywOo and Spirit all over again. They're going to go. His problem was he wasn't in the roles that really suited him, and he was just doing it because he said, well, in that case, you agree with us then. He wasn't in the right spot in the team, was he? And I'm sorry, you're not getting frozen or twist roles, mate. So in this team, I suspect he probably is an all right player. If the joke is, if he was on Passion UA, maybe I'd be big in the move up. Maybe that could even work, you know. But in this squad, it isn't it. And he definitely is not a replacement for Raid, I'll tell you that much. So I don't even know really what they're going for in this. Like, at this point, I'm sorry. The reason I don't go on about it that much myself is I just assume they have no fucking money and they're in a tough spot in FaZe. And if anything, I think they got lucky that Twists came back to them. I think if that hadn't happened, they'd just be completely irrelevant now. They'd be like the 20th best team in CS. It'd be a waste of everyone's time.
Yeah, that might be true, actually. Like, if Twist didn't come back, they would have been in a lot of trouble, actually. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, because, well, I know they always say that FaZe Esports is like a separate entity from their like YouTube stuff. But even then, going back to what you said before about general manager, who even is FaZe's general manager? Do they even have
no one knows?
Like, does anybody know? Yeah, exactly. Nobody knows. All we know is Kerrigan and Neo. That's it. So, like, from that point of view, the Jacob move makes sense. Like you said, Kerrigan's wife was working with the team he was on. Neo's Polish. Like, all right, bring in this Polish guy. He might be pretty good, you know? And that's fine. There's nothing like... That's like, it's kind of funny, but it's like, yeah, that's a nice thing. That's a nice thing. You're also FaZe Clan, though, and should be trying to win every tournament you play in, so maybe not. But yeah, I do think, yeah, try on this team actually would have made a lot of sense. I didn't even think about that.
I've got an analogy for you, Davey. Because obviously you're the only person on this show I can sit and talk about football stuff. It's not Maui's shit, right? I'll give you the example, because people will assume I've done FaZe as a negative and an ugly myself, like so many times in the last 6 months. People must assume I'm like a FaZe hater, which is obviously a joke, because it's the other way around. I'm mad biased towards FaZe. I love every Carrigan team. I'll give you the football example of what Jacob is like in this team, right? I'm a Liverpool fan, right? And I can tell you, mate, right until the bitter end, there were loads of Liverpool fans who used to actually have a soft spot for Darwin Nunez, believe it or not, who, if people don't know, was a striker who was, I think it was even mathematical, bro. I think he'd missed like the most like XG opportunities of like any star player. Like, essentially, this guy was constantly having chances, sometimes literally with open goals and missing the goal. Like, and the problem was all the other people were doing what they're doing now. If you're a FaZe fan, you're doing the copium of, oh, but he had an all right game. Maybe he can do it though. And I used to go, no. That's how I actually wonder if you really love the team or not, because the fact that I love the team is why I want this guy fired. Like, he can't do it, mate. He's a waste of the time. Like, we need you. If you actually love the team, sometimes you have to say, essentially, so we have to amputate this arm, or the gangrene kills the whole body, mate. Like, we've got to get rid of him. So it's the same with the Jacob angle. Like, look, maybe he can go and enjoy your career in Gamer League, have an awesome time, go to Passion UA, go to any of these fucking teams. I'm sorry, you do not get to be in FaZe Clan and then come like, because here's what I'll say at the end. Here's how bad I think FaZe Clan is now. As of right now, unless they go to some really bad field tournament, they shouldn't be in any playoffs. This team should never be in an S-tier playoff. Like, why would they be?
Well, and going what you were saying before about Twists having like that great game at the major, there was a couple games, or I should say maps specifically at that major, where Frozen genuinely looked like Donk. It was like, wow, Frozen is like 1.5 rating. Like, these are Donk numbers. And he did it for like a map. 2 maps, right? I'm going to bring it all right back to my boy. That's what makes Donk so fucking special, is that he can do that map after map, series after series, time and time again. And when you see a guy like Frozen do it and you're like, holy shit, what a performance from Frozen. That's crazy. It's like, yeah, guys, that's actually above his ceiling. Like, his everyday ceiling is not that. Frozen's an incredible player, but like you said, you cannot rely on these humans to put up ZywOo and Donk level numbers every tournament, because these are just really good players. Those guys are in a league of their own.
Now then, speaking of ZywOo, actually we have one more little topic, which is there's also an interesting poly market for who will win PGL Cluj-Napoca. Obviously, after how it went in Krakow, I think everyone's feeling vitality. As you can see, they have a massive amount of the market here. Actually, the odds according to the poly market traders are 44%. Remember, we're only in like round 3 of Swiss, guys. That 44% of that vitality wins this tournament. And remember, this isn't, IEM Atlanta. This isn't one with like a scuffed field. This is all the best teams. Everyone except Spirit's at this event. So essentially, at the moment, all the traders basically, 44%, they think it's going to be vitality. What are your thoughts, boys? Who wins this tournament? Is there a different one that you would maybe pick? Would you go with vitality? Where are you going?
Yeah, vitality all the way. It's hard to go against them right now. I mean, eventually they'll lose, right? Like, they have to at some point. Somebody will have to beat them. But until that happens, yeah, totally agree. Vitality's just, they're too good right now.
Gosh, I mean, Mao's at 6% is awfully low. But I've also drank the Mao's Kool-Aid too many times, and I know that it's not a good idea. It's just
Poisoned.
not a good.
It is.
Yeah, it is. It is. The group stage always makes me believe. The eye test always check. If you just watch a late stage group stage game for Mao's, you're gonna think that they're the best team on planet Earth, and then you get a really almost a violent reminder. Actually, once you get to the playoffs, it actually gives me
violence is when you're throwing up.
My head is actually just vibrating and shaking after I'm reeling from the fact that I once again have been fooled, duped again. That's how it is. The fell for it again award, I suppose, with Mao's, huh?
By the way, of these ones here, the only other one I would even speculate on personally is if you want to go crazy, just because obviously if you think about what the odds will be, look, there is a world where Fury could clutch it out. They do still have like that thing in big games. So at 16%, you will get a massive return if you end up getting there. But I just don't think I do think actually this is one where the market's just right. Vitality will win the event, and I totally understand why everyone's basically picking them. All the traders here, I think that was what will happen too. Okay, we have one last topic. And the last topic of the show is going to be my bad point. And it ties into what we were just talking about. I actually think it's a bad point that as Vitality, again, looks insurmountable, and right now they should win every event, as people have probably noticed, because the PGL IEM war means that for once PGL's won with this upcoming event, they're probably just going to win the Grand Slam for free. They're going to the IEM Atlanta where like the second best team is like, what? Like fucking like, it's like teams like FaZe Clan and stuff like that. It's like it looks really bad. And the reason why I'm going to put this as bad, not ugly, is because I actually do think, remember, there's not that many teams that won the Grand Slams, guys. Remember, it goes like Astralis did it, Team Liquid did it, Na'Vi did it, and now Vitality did it, right? So, or FaZe did it as well. So if you look, actually the Grand Slam has a pretty good track record, even when, yes, Na'Vi had some of them were online, and so there's been the odd scuffed one. But even so, Grand Slam, I actually think is a pretty dope fucking measure. I know it's only ES Ultimates, but still it's really hard to do it. You probably have to do a generational team to get it done, etc. The problem is, Vitality deserves to have, like they did with the other Grand Slam, an Astralis type up where it's like, you're just the best team and you win all the best tournaments. This is what will actually show. So the idea they're going to win it like almost for free at the end, it feels a bit cheap, like they could win it even with all the teams attending, but it just will feel whack because that whole event the entire time is just going to feel like the coronation of, and here they are, the Hero Vitality stepping up to the stage here. We expect them to, and there's just going to be them just walking to the gold bars and lifting them up, isn't it? Like, there's not going to be any hype. Like, what you want it to be, remember, the original thing of the Grand Slam, people forget, 'cause it never happened, sadly, was it was supposed to be about when the person's in the final and they can win it. If you win against them, you deny it and you get that bonus, like 100k for denying them. It just never happened, unfortunately. That's where, for this one, you'd want it more than anything. Imagine if it was like Duncan and Spirit stood in the way and Donk knows, look, I can't be number one, but I tell you what, I can stop this motherfucker winning the Grand Slam if I just go ham on this game. That's cinema. That's what I want. So instead, the idea they're going to go to IEM Atlanta, and it looks like fucking DreamHack Open back in the day. Like, what is that field? And they're just going to, it's like the other teams, you guys, I get why you skip events, but I hope you do know you have just given Vitality a $3 million, you mad fucks. Like, you've given them like show gold bars and a $3 million. Like, why have you done that? Why have you done that?
Just the idea of them getting the million magic is just irking
it's
you.
Gross, isn't it?
It's just like, you're just like, this is, fuck them. have like $1 million.
I know.
It's that easily. Someone give me $1 million that easily, eh? I mean, yeah, it's an interesting time with all the TOs battling each other right now. Once again, it was that started happening years ago, and then it stopped, and now it's back. But hey, I mean, whatever. It is what it is. I mean, to be fair, even if at the event they win it, it's not the most stacked field. They're definitely a team that deserves a Grand Slam.
For sure.
even
yeah,
if the event they win it at is kind of a bullshit one. But I don't know.
And it's even nuts the idea they're going to win two. They're going to win two Grand Slams with the same roster. That's actually fucking insane.
Like back to back. Yeah, insane.
Yes.
And can you imagine though if like obviously this just like can't happen, but I think it was Rops was making the joke about how if Falcons decide to just spend all their money, buy Donk, buy ZywOo, have their super team, he's just going to stop playing because no one will ever win. All that needs to happen for that to be the case is Vitality gets Donk and swaps out
Flames.
Yeah,
Flames.
Flamesy.
Yeah, swaps out Flamesy and puts Donk in, and that Vitality team never loses. Like, they just will never lose again.
Well, especially because, Davey, logically, ZywOo will really unselfishly give all the resources to Donk, and then Donk be better. There you go, see?
So, and then Donk gets to be even better.
Exactly.
And they have an even better closer now. Now they have ZywOo, Rops closing. And they'll only have to close like 2 rounds a game because Donk will have killed everyone before that, because ZywOo, who's like the best player ever, will also therefore be the best at giving resources to Donk. So logically, they'll just never lose again.
Case closed.
There's a bit of a subplot to this that I guess Simple fans can continue to use against ZywOo, because obviously ZywOo's kind of lapping Simple in achievements if you want to do a GOAT of Counter-Strike debate. But one thing that ZywOo will seemingly never have over Simple, despite the conversation we just had about the Grand Slam, is that he'll never have an Intel Grand Slam. I don't know if people are paying attention to the fine print. It's actually changed to an ESL Grand Slam now. So that's 1 point for Simple that he's never going to lose.
Well,
beyond that, I don't really have a lot to say.
Price went down.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, when AMD Grand Slam win, there's not a lot to add to that one, unfortunately, because I mean the Atlanta team pool is just surprisingly weak. I guess I could split the topic into the fact.
Plus, as far as I know, look, they can actually win like Rio or whatever before them. But the point is, if they haven't won it by then, they're just going to walk the Atlanta one, aren't they? That's like at the end, they're just going to win it for sure. It feels like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. I feel like the only thing I'm kind of taking from that, other than just the fact that everybody on Vitality is just going to be handed gold bars, is that I just find it kind of interesting that actually Astana sort of won the little battle here of the teams, that it seems like more of them are going to be signing up for that event. And that's the only way I really have a way to contribute to this topic, because it's just kind of a shame that what you're saying is just true, that Vitality, I mean, like, realistically speaking, I like Navi. They're probably even grand final favorites to have a grand final berth at this event, but they are just a formality before we see a podium finish or a walkout of Apex flipping off the Georgian crowd. Actually,
bro, throw back to earlier in the show. There's a chance that this Foot team makes a semifinal or final at this tournament. Genuinely,
not unreasonable.
It's like they actually could. Like if they get matched up against FaZe, why can't they beat FaZe? Like why can't Foot beat FaZe in a quarterfinal? Why can't Foot beat Astralis in a quarterfinal? You know, like there's a world where this is like a Foot Vitality final, and then there's gonna be Foot's up asses because that won't be fun for them. But but like Vitality.
No, what would be sick? You know what would be sick? Just thinking about it. I mean, imagine this grand finals. It's Simple v ZywOo. Simple denying ZywOo.
Because BC game's there. Yes, true.
Yeah, BC game is actually there.
If BC game make the final of this tournament,
I do it. You're making it sound like Simple plays him, and then it's like the fucking Dragon Ball Z Spirit Bomb, and all the haters of ZywOo just send all their vibes, and Simple just goes like 2021 mode or something. Okay.
And then they have to play 23 more rounds, and then they lose.
I was about to say, I think Simple could drop 30 kills in regulation and lose this game 13-10. Like,
Well, if anything,
realistic.
the most fitting modern day narrative would be that Simple actually does go supernova, but on one map, and then the joke is Mezzy on Apex just frag enough that they win the game anyway. But then all ZywOo fans are like, see, he beat him again. It's like, whatever, you fucks, whatever.
there's absolutely no chance. There's no, but that would be great though, Alex. You are right.
It'd be cinema.
Yeah, we
That
might have
would be
broke character at
fantastic.
the end there, but yeah, it's
Yeah.